Welcome back to Second Opinion with Dr. Do. I am Dr. Dwayne Lehman. I'm a doctor of business administration with a focus in public policy. And this is part two. Go see yesterday's video. Technically, I'm just recording straight through, but we hit an hour and a half on the last video. So I'm making this a two-parter. We are currently burning through this video right here, which are the best productivity hacks of all time. And I had quite a bit to say about the best productivity hacks of all time. This video from 4 years ago from Ali Abdal, also a wonderful content creator and doctor in his own right. But we have a differing set of opinions, which is why we are having some disputes. But again, as I pointed out in the first video, these are his tier list rankings for him personally, and I'm taking more of an approach of you figuring out whether something is right for you or not. So we are coming up on, move ahead a little bit here. Let's move to the 2-minute rule. So here's how the format's going to go if you're new. We're playing his video. It's playing at 1.5 speed. We spent an hour and a half getting 2 minutes and 17 seconds into his video. My God. So I'm going to try to speed up video three. As I explained at the very end, if you made it to the end of all my talking of video two, I'm OODA looping these. So mistakes and warts and all, I don't edit these. I'll just stop recording or pause recording and start over. But I usually one shot these. And what we're going to do is we're going to play what he has. I've got AI notes, so we're going to read out through here. And then once we get through all the notes, which I'll show you over here, we've got the 2-minute rule. We're going to go through the notes, and then we're going to get down to my thoughts and things in which I will read them out. And then what I'm going to try to do, and I apologize because this is going to be a little bit different. One of the things I'm going to try to do is not add my 2 cents until the end. I don't know if we're going to get through the rest of these. We've got quite a few of these, so we might burn through some of these. I really think that this is a good addendum to video one, and what I said throughout video one is really going to apply here. But we're going to get to a portion where I didn't even write notes. Again, I was spending so much time writing notes. I'm like, I actually just riff this. I was riffing the notes, so I can probably just riff this live. That's sort of my superpower, is just riffing live, and I can speak forever. I've got a water bottle here to keep me going. I've got a pause button to refill it. So I will have a few breaks where I just hit pause and reset things on my screens, but there's not going to be any editing and probably never any editing going forward. And it's the only way I can keep up ahead of the AI slop stories that we covered in the first video. If you want to go back and watch that one, I can almost outproduce AI, but the only way that I can do that is I do one takes. I do a lot of talking. This is kind of very raw. So why don't we get back to the video? And again, we're going to do his video. We're going to do the notes, and then I'm going to go through some of my takes on it. So I apologize for a little bit of a lower quality, but it took an hour and a half to go 2 minutes, and we've got a full, my God, what have we got to go here? We've got 12 minutes. That could be days worth of video with as much as I'm riffing. So I'm going to try to get through this just a little bit faster. And I don't know how, but I completely borked that window. My apologies. All right, let's jump into it.
2-minute rule. Now, this was popularized by David Allen in the book Getting Things Done. And the idea behind the 2-minute rule is that if there is something that you need to do, and that something is going to take less than 2 minutes, then you should do it right now rather than add it to your to-do list. Now, the 2-minute rule is actually like really useful. I just don't do it very much because I'm a bit of a waste man. And so I've got to give it a rating of a D, because normally if I have something like replying to an email or replying to a WhatsApp message that actually would take less than 2 minutes, I would love to actually do it there and then. But generally I just think, oh, I'll get to this some other time. And then it just ends up, people following up, hundreds of unread messages on WhatsApp. Apologies to anyone who's tried to email or message me in the last like 2 years, but I really do suck at replying to messages because I don't apply the 2-minute rule.
Okay. I'm going to mostly agree with him here, but let's go over to our notes on this one. We have the 2-minute rule, and I'm going to let AI talk about what it thought about those things and kind of break down what we just saw.
216. The 2-minute rule. Tier ranking D. Popularized by David Allen in Getting Things Done. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it right now instead of adding to-do list. Note, really useful technique, but personally doesn't apply it consistently. Admits to being bad at replying to messages because he doesn't follow this rule. Analysis. GTD's classic 2-minute rule is another reduce friction move. If it's truly tiny, do it now, because tracking it costs more than finishing it. Research-based analysis. Cognitive offloading is real. Plan making reduces interference from unfinished tasks. PubMed. The 2 minutes is arbitrary. Use it as triage. Do now, delegate, defer with a time, or delete.
And that's I believe that those are from the GTD method, the get things done method, which is the book that he talked about. Again, not a bad method. It's if you have no method, at least something as a placeholder might not be too bad. But let me go into some of my thoughts about this. Um, Again, I'm going to try to read as much as possible because we're going to be a little short on time. I'm trying to get through 12 whole minutes, which might expand to 12 whole hours into my takes. So my thoughts. That's good if you're just completely done with your priorities. Um, make the main thing the main thing, and the 2 minute tasks are just the TikTok of productivity. You aren't getting anything important done, and you feel more productive than you are. So I'm going to let you just kind of read this. I am going to riff a little bit. I can't help myself. I'm like an addict. I just can't help myself. I wrote this, but um, when you are working, you have things you need to get done. And a lot of people use the 2 minute rule as you don't know where to start, you don't know where to get things at. But if you're doing 2 minute rules, you're not getting anything important done. And you might say, well, I've got a very important email. Um, it's not that important if you're able to do it in 2 minutes. And I kind of go into that here, which is again why I should just read what I have. Um, so for instance, my thoughts are you need to think about what is being asked in the email. You need to think about how you want to reply, the responses that could come, and if you could include some of that extra information to avoid the back and forth. If you can save time by answering questions and emails without having back forth, back forth, back forth, just write it all. I know people don't like long emails. Just write the whole damn thing. It saves everyone time. The 1,000 email threads are wasting everyone's time. If you're really that back and forth, just do a quick call. Stop. The paper trail, maybe you might need the paper trail, especially if people are sort of busy and you're working across different departments or different agencies, or you're doing that sort of thing. Yeah, then maybe that's the way to do. But other than running to the bathroom because you laugh so hard at a joke that you're about to piss yourself, or you're calling 911 and performing CPR. There's absolutely no productivity to be gained in the 2 minute rule until you are completely done with your main tasks. You've gotten a good break, you've gotten hydration, you've gotten food, you have absolutely no priority ahead of you. In other words, you've accomplished your day, but you still have things that need to get done. Sure, do your 2 minute rule then. But just do all the things and look for those things that need to be done. But don't put the minutes on it. You should just go through things either as they come up, or you should organize them in a different way. I put this in crap tier. I don't see a purpose in the 2 minute rule unless you're just completely clueless and you're like, oh, I've got a whole list of honeydew items and I'm at home and there's no real priority. I've got to fix a sink and unclog the toilet and I need to vacuum and I need to do this. You could just organize things. The 2 minute rule is like, which of those things can I just do in 2 minutes? Like, could I just call my insurance or could I just do this? Those things will wind up being time sucks that absolutely just suck every bit of time. Um, and what's funny is he talks about this later, but just do a good Eisenhower matrix. And I do mine a bit different. It's make a square, make a square, cut that square into four smaller squares. Top row are your important lose my job and wife type shit. Your bottom row is if I don't do it, nobody will really give a damn. And your left column is I can do this in a single coffee or less. And your other column is I need a full pot of coffee for this. If it's anything longer than that, you're actually looking at a project. If you can't do something in a single pot of coffee, which, 2 or 4 hours, like it's a project, unless you are in the middle of that project and you're wondering where to start in that, that's also a completely separate question because that requires real planning. Um, if it's too hard, just use basic logistics that have run the world since the time of Napoleon. And my God, did I spell Napoleon that horribly wrong? We're just bad. Dr. Do can't spell. Can't spell. I just misspelled it. Ah, it is late. Yeah. Thank you. Anywho, an easier way to do this is just rank everything from most to least important and move through that one at a time. Get your most important stuff done first and work your way down. Or if you want to get more things done, list them by the time required and work them from the short tasks through the last. There's a couple other ways you could do this. You could use other old logistical methods like first in, first out, or last in, first out. So if you're doing something like a memory retrieval, you've got a stack of papers. What's a good quick no BS way to organize them? It would be last in, first out. You put papers down in a stack in the order that they arrive. And if you're looking for something, it's more likely that the most recent thing you got is probably going to be related to the task you need to do. So it's probably going to be on top. And it's less likely the further down you go. So automatically, the things that are right at the top that you're going to get to very quickly are going to be very easy to find. And so unless something is wildly out there, it's not going to be at the bottom. So that's the last in, first out. First in, first out is the opposite, where you set things where the very first thing gets at the top and everything else goes under, and it gets stacked up in a row, and you get this sort of train of tasks to do. And so first in, first out is what's used by a lot of manufacturing. So you don't keep old stock around. You don't get coffee and stale food. You want your food to arrive at the grocery store in, first out. You want the oldest stuff to move first out of the warehouse to the grocery store. You want the oldest stuff to move quickly out of the grocery store. Otherwise, you're going to have a ton of waste. If you do that for your tasks, you would take your oldest task and do it first until you catch up. If you do this in your email, you're going to your oldest emails first and reading up towards your newest emails. So that's how first in. Now, last in, first out email would be read the most recent email and work your way to the oldest email. First in, first out is doing the opposite. Go to the oldest emails and work to the newest. Eisenhower matrix, if you were looking at that, is sort your emails by which ones are flagged or name you, or you're in the to line, or they have a keyword for something that's important. That's going to be do those first. And as you look through them, you could sort your tasks by what's the most important to the least important. And then you have emails that, yeah, you could read and catch up on, but you don't need to reply, or you could probably just ignore. You eventually get around to reading it. If you want to get to that holy grail of inbox zero, focus on making a list of your important stuff, and then sort that by recency. People are most interested in what their most recent request is. Their old request may have already expired. Start there, work your way down. If you quickly scan it doesn't apply to you, just mark them red and move on about your day. Yeah, that's basically it. Where did I add? I thought I had a some of this could cause you problems where when you're looking at a 2-minute rule, if you do this and that's how you're going to get ahead at work, that's basically quiet quitting. You're doing the easiest, shortest task and you're never tackling the big tasks. And if you don't skip it, you're probably going to lose your job. That's, you can grab it here. I thought I had a nice little anecdote here. You can either actually get your stuff done, or you can vibe farm on small bullshit tasks and think you've conquered the world like Jack on the Titanic, and spoiler, you'll die at the end of the movie or just lose your job. I think that's not a hot take. I think that's pretty solid. It's like if you do the most menial, meaningless tasks, it's not really going to help you a whole lot through pretty much any of that. So let's move back over and get to the 2-day rule. This is a little more interesting.
Messaged me in the last 2 years, but I really do suck at replying to messages because I don't apply the 2-minute rule. Next on the list, we have the 2-day rule. Now, this is something from my friend and fellow productivity YouTuber, Matt Diavella.
which, by the way, um, good YouTuber. If I'm not mistaken, let me. I'm
Next on
gonna
the list, we have the 2-day rule. Now, this is something from my friend and fellow productivity
I'm trying to remember if I've watched some of those videos. I think he had some over note-taking app. So, he also is, if I'm not mistaken, he is a minimalist. So if you're interested in minimalist context, uh, Matt's a good channel to watch as well.
YouTuber Matt Diavella.
After 8 years of attempting to put weight on ever since high school and failing miserably, I implemented the 2-day rule. It's very simple. I would not allow myself to take off more than 1 day in a row for some kind of workout, be it the gym, a jog, or a hike. I had to do some kind of physical activity at least every other day. This allowed me the time to take days off as I needed it, often multiple days a week, but it also kept me committed to my goal, and most importantly, it prevented me from falling into a slump and neglecting my health for weeks or even months at a time.
And I really like the 2-day rule because it's an alternative approach to sticking to your schedule that offers a little bit more leeway. I tried using the 2-day rule at one point back when I was working out at the gym fairly regularly, and I found it didn't quite work for me because I'm not as on the workout hype as Matt is. And so instead what I found was useful for me was having an accountability buddy in a personal trainer, and so I end up working out 2 or 3 times a week. And so the 2-day rule is awesome, and I know a lot of people who use it, but because I don't personally use it at all, it's gonna have to go on the D ranking on our tier list. Next, we have the concept of time.
Okay, so let's cover this real quick here. Let's review what we just saw.
3 o'clock. The 2-day rule, tier ranking D.
3 o'clock, huh?
Productivity
Oh,
user
AI.
Matt
Oh,
Diavella.
you silly
Don't
AI.
allow yourself to take off more than 1 day in a row. Must do some kind of activity at least every other day. Offers more leeway than strict daily schedules. Prevents falling into slumps and neglecting goals for weeks, months. Personal note. Didn't work for him personally. Prefers accountability, buddy slash personal trainer instead. Research-based analysis. Habit formation is gradual and variable. Lapses happen. What matters is returning. Wiley Online Library. Use it as a kindness rule. Don't miss twice. Not a purity rule that triggers a shame spiral.
Okay, my thoughts. Not bad. Most productivity and habits and such is a system method. We covered this whole. It's not a real. These are not real systems of kicking yourself in the ass over a long period of time, unless you just sleepwalk through until you just sleepwalk through the habit. My bucket, I put it in the can of whoop ass tier. Recommendation: stop. First, just stop. You get to do one priority, one thing to kick your own ass over. This isn't about you taking your next top 20 New Year's resolutions and making up a calendar where you space them all out and you maximize the breaks with your brand new shiny 2-day rule and decide you're going to be Einstein in brains or the Rock in body because you can make doodles on a calendar. This is going to show up later. I'm not reading it now. This is not going to show up. This is going to show up a little bit later with the color coding. Um, but with this method, pick one thing, the best thing, the only thing, the thing you need to learn a habit for, and relentlessly kick yourself in the ass until it's a habit. Research is going to show that you can't just constantly kick yourself in your own ass. Put some real, BF Skinner, behavioralism, do some, sort of the Pavlovian, bell rings, your mouth salivas. Skinner was able to train animals. It was sort of the birth of behaviorism. Throwing in my extensive doctoral knowledge in there. Most of you are probably familiar with Skinner, the Skinner experiments. Interesting stuff, making birds peck for food and making them peck out patterns and things like that. And you can do that, but you have to reward yourself for accomplishing milestones. Negative behaviorism all on its own is not going to be positive or mentally healthy for you or an animal. But I personally Uh, I threw this in here. I don't know. Maybe I was tired. May, maybe I had a little extra wine cooler with the dinner tonight. I don't remember having it, but I personally recommend eating an entire box of jelly donuts after your 30 workout. But really, not joking, if you get to 30 workouts, you've already got your lifelong habit. Like you've pretty well done it at that point. And I'm probably assuming you didn't do those in 30 straight days. So you've probably been doing 3 days a week for 10 weeks. You're really into this already. And a single box of donuts is just you being your happy, gluttonous sloth self and taking a baker's dozen like a champ. wash it down with a milkshake, and take all of your Instagram photos of you at the gym and working out, and sneak in a photo of you with your face covered in powdered sugar and jelly and the empty box. And if you're into the captioning, record it with the workout with your new best score, 38 minutes, 13 donuts, hashtag do you even gains, bro, hashtag don't skip donut day. But I'm really not joking. Set up an audacious reward, make it silly, make it memorable, uh, make it something that's kind of a struggle to enjoy, even if your habit is being struggling. Um, uh, the donuts, and unless you're diabetic, dear God, don't do that. Um, but you can kick your own ass, but you gotta have fun. You gotta show other people you're having fun. They won't just see you suffering and be like, oh, I killed my legs again. I can't walk up my stairs. I had to pull myself up to the bedroom with my massive new forearms. And I kind of point out, like, if you make a habit to eat tree bark, you're gonna quit in a day like everyone else. Actually, I'm recording this on January 4th. It's going to post on January 5th. 99.999% of you are going to quit your New Year's resolutions, I believe, they say by day 6. So, uh, if you for you to get to your 30th workout, yeah, enjoy a box of jelly donuts. Have something of reward after it. And if you fail, well, if you're someone who does enjoy like a donut once a month, you grab a donut with your coffee, and it's what you like to do on the first of the month. Start the month off right. Tell yourself you're going to punish yourself too. I didn't do it. So yeah, I kicked myself in the ass, and now I just can't have a donut for a couple months. I'm just because I'm every time I think about having my single donut on the first of the month, I'm going to realize I couldn't keep my habit, and maybe you can get yourself back to it. Um, but do you think you can just kick your own ass all the way to winning? Well, of course you do, because you're built different. Newsflash, you are not. I guarantee you are not built different. So let's go to our next one, which will be time blocking.
In blocking. Now, this is basically where you block out a certain amount of time for a particular task or project, and ideally you stick it in the calendar, and so when that time comes around, you actually end up doing the thing. Now, this is going to get an A rating from me. I think this is an absolutely essential tip. The day I started using a calendar was the day that my productivity basically 2x'd overnight because I was now using a calendar. Because normally, like, I find for me, I don't know about you, but like for me, when I have an empty gap on my calendar, at that point I think, oh, I could do all these different things, and I end up kind of paralyzed by the amount of different things I could be doing. Whereas when I have a slot in my calendar in which there is a defined task, at that point, I know what I should be doing in that time. And if I want to do something else, I can choose to do it, but at least I've got my default option, and this has been an absolute game changer for my productivity. It's not just me that swears by time blocking. People like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and author Cal Newport also use time blocking quite a lot, and they've written and talked extensively about how it's the best thing.
Okay, I'm just gonna because I'm gonna point this out later. I also think I pointed this out in the last video. Um, I don't give I don't give two shits what Elon Musk or Bill Gates do. That does not make a system well. And if you go back to video one, you're going to see where I talk about the problem with a lot of qualitative, and then lower than that are the book authors, and lower than that are the pure influencers. The lower you get away from data, the more people will care what Elon Musk, Bill Gates, or Warren Buffett do, like time blocking. If you want to know about high tech startups, Elon Musk and Bill Gates are probably if you want to know about investing, Warren Buffett is probably who to talk to. If you want to know a time block, do not fucking talk to those people. They do not live lives that reflect your life. That is just horrible logic. And as I pointed out, I believe in the last video, it's like believing you're going to be in the NBA because you drink Sprite just like Kobe Bryant. That's not going to effing happen. So let's cover some of this, and I'll go into, um, you know, let's see where we started and
Your ranking
get
A.
there.
Block out specific time for tasks/projects in your calendar. When that time comes, you do the thing. Impact. Productivity basically doubled overnight when started using a calendar. Empty calendar gaps cause paralysis by too many options. Defined calendar slots provide default actions. Used by Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and author Cal Newport. Second opinion lens reinforces use my system vibe. Evidence, anecdote, authority, name drops, Musk/Gates/Newport.
I didn't tell AI that. I wrote my notes without really reading. I was like, well, what's interesting is if AI is wrong, I get to critique the AI then. Because I get to show like, ah ha ha ha, human intelligence and education has triumphed over the machine. Um, I'll throw on some Tom Morello and Rage Against the Machine. We'll freaking rock out to kicking the machine's ass. Unfortunately, it's so right here. It's like the name dropping. I'm gonna let this continue a second, but um, yeah, who gives a shit what a famous person does? I'm just like I'm not trying to dog on the creators. Like this is just a thing they do. Everyone does this. It's a it's a psychological hack. It works. The average they're gonna hear like I want to use something that works. Okay. I I think I qualify. I just dedicated like the last, depending on how you count the time, 13 to 15 years of my life going from no education as an adult and all the way through a doctorate. I think I'm pretty good at time blocking because I held a career down and raised a child in that period as well as living in 4 different states over that period of time, and also career changes and education changes and all that. So, um, honestly, I think I could have ran Tesla better than Elon had I put all of that time into that task. And I actually I no, I think he probably could have done my task as well. Like we could have traded tasks. I feel like I could have done better at Tesla. I couldn't have hyped it better. Like you got to have the brand. Like you got to be the charismatic, culty, weird, nerd-ish type thing to do what he did. Like I'm not going to give him a lot of credit, but I'll give him credit for that. Same with now Bill Gates. Bill Gates has some hardcore management. Um, I I would question if I could have tackled half of what Bill Gates tackled. That he truly is on another level. Not everyone thinks he's a smart nerd. Kinda. I think I'm probably more of a nerd in some areas. He certainly is a nerd in other areas, but in management terms, and I'm a doctor of management. Uh, Gates Gates blows so many people out of the water. Looking at like a Jack Welch, looking at GE, looking at IBM, looking at Intel starting off, looking at sort of the Hewlett Packard Compaq, the real growth days. Bill Gates just stood head and shoulders far and above everyone. He also later admitted he didn't need to be so much of an asshole. He very freely admits it, but um, a mind for, people think a mind for technology. I think a mind for business. Um, Musk Musk thinks money is magic, and that happens when you get all your money from government grants. I don't remember the last time that Microsoft started an entire new section. I do remember that the Xbox was started by government defense grants from NASA or energy bills. So it's just, I give each. They may both be famous. I give them different credibilities, and I don't give a shit what their net worth is. Different time, different space. So there's this thing. I'm getting a little too excited. I'm getting a little too fired up over this. Let's continue with the pressure test.
Pressure test, A/B test completion stress would be challenged if time blocking increases context switching, creates schedule guilt, or results in lower completion rates than a looser task-based approach.
Not likely, but
Verdict,
yeah.
often helpful, not magic, depends on role. Confidence, medium. Experiment. 5 days blocked versus 5 days unblocked. Measure, completion
Fairly easy to
velocity,
do.
stress schedule drift.
Yep. Check your
Incident-based
stress.
analysis. Implementation intentions when/where/how plans have strong support.
Yep.
Attention switching has costs. Cancer control population sciences. Don't time block your entire existence. Block 1, 2 high-impact tasks. Leave slack and defend those blocks like meetings.
Slack, 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 and I don't mean the damn messaging platform. Slack. If you have people that block their entire days with meetings and such, you are 120,000% going to run into the issue of overlap. And you see people that have meetings all day long, they're late to every single one. So let me go to thoughts. I think time blocks are good, and as I pointed there, Don't do the block, 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 block. People do this with meetings, and they're always late to every meeting. My gosh, it's almost like I wrote these notes. Um, it your work does not give a shit what time you set for it. It will not obey your boundaries for getting things done. So when you set these up, you need to ensure that you turn on your do not disturb, you put everything away, and you focus on one thing. A time block is for one set of things or one thing. It is altogether. You don't time block and say, I'm going to do work or I'm going to do home. You need to be very specific. Are you cleaning the house, the downstairs? Are you cooking? Are you meal prepping? Which I'm not a fan of. I think meal prepping is a human destroying task. To just sucking the joy out of life, which is meal time with people, and I'm going to keep saying that. But if you're going to do that, you create a block, but realize that you need the end of a time block to be open ended. When you do a time block, we talked about, like the whole 2 minute task things and what you're supposed to do. If you have free time and energy and you want to do that, if you're really done, go take a break. If you got a real good time block done, recharge. That's the time to recharge. But if you're truly getting into the work and you set aside an hour, it might take two, and you might be on a roll and you don't want to stop. It's like, well, I got another time block. When you hit deep work, do not interrupt your deep work. That's the worst thing you could do. And that's why I call this the deep work tier. If you time block correctly and you get used to what your deep work is like when you really hit your stride, or what we'll cover later, your flow, you're winning. It's nothing at all with time blocks. The only problem with time blocks is people over them. They want to time block their entire damn week, their entire damn day. Be very judicious with time blocks. Um, I say that as somebody who has completed a dissertation on time. I say that as somebody who has gone through 3 degree stages and has had every waking moment of my time sucked up by studying, reading, research papers, writing, conducting an actual experiment, a nationwide US experiment. Yes, time blocking works. Um, he puts it, I believe, at A tier. This is S tier if you do it right. It's not it's not some super complicated method. It's just make the time that Saturday at from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m., you're just going to do a thing. You're going to grab your snacks, you're going to put them in there, you're going to get plenty of water. When you take a break, you're going to put your headphones on. You're not going to talk to anybody. You're going to walk outside. Your mind's going to be going, what I like to do during my time block breaks, because you can do a time block and still take a break in the time block. Put the headphones on, or if you got little headphones on, I actually brought this out just like I say, put on a hat and just go all old school Fat Albert on it and just head down. And when you do that, oh boy, I'm popping things out now. When you do that, you will find the most amazing gains, because what you're really accomplishing um, is deep work. You're allowing yourself to fully engage mentally, physically. The rest of the world does not exist outside of that time block. And what I recommend when you use your time blocks is, your time block is the minimum amount of time you will work, not the maximum amount of time. And a good time block is you setting up a start and a minimum time to work. And if you're working slow and it seems like time is got to be going much faster and you need to be done, you have a clock. Like don't put yourself in a a chamber for your senses. Have a clock. Look at the time. If you're glancing at, I have a clock behind me. If I look at the clock and I'm like, okay, I've got the next hour and a half. I need to get a handle on my paragraph transitions for section 3.9 of chapter 3. I'm gonna spend an hour and a half just going over those, making sure that they're good and not repetitive, and I'm gonna do this. And I go through there and I'm like, this is hard. This is hard. God, how long have I been at this? You're not in deep. If you're looking at the clock, you are not in deep work. You look at the clock and you see 20 minutes passed, you'd better put on some background. Whatever's on your mind that is distracting you, You're not hitting flow at all. Close your browser. You're going down some kind of rabbit hole. You're looking at something else. You need to refocus yourself because you're not being focused and you're being overwhelmed, and your brain is trying to escape, like the task is an escape room and it's trying to find any way out. Um, and as I right here, um, you know, maybe you decided that do not disturb wasn't possible, and you keep getting a text message from a loved one or someone else. And you need to let people know when you have these time blocks, like you are not reachable. You may as well be on the moon when these time blocks happen, unless it involves them. So when you hit these time blocks, you are unreachable. You go back to the 1800s where you are somewhere in the country and there are no phones, telegraphs, telegrams, or carrier pigeons. And if you decide not to turn on your do not disturb, you will have essentially fucked yourself out of 2 hours of time that you have now wasted. You may as well have watched a movie. Like that's the poor situation you have put yourself in. And now you're just stuck in that room for another hour and 40 minutes. And you aren't leaving. Because once you set a time block, you need the habit of sticking it out. If you've got to sit there and stare at the wall and watch the paint age for another hour and 40 minutes, you do it because you're there. If you need to put the headphones on, not because you're listening to the music, and walk and think, work through the issues of why you're not able to engage. If you've got to go into your back, and I do this, you got to go into your backyard and walk circles for 2 hours. Then you go into your back yard and you walk circles for 2 hours. The reason you set a time block is it's important to you. It's a priority. It is the main thing, and keeping the main thing is important enough to you that you have. This is why you don't block your, like, I'm a time block my workout. I'm a time block. Those are not all priorities. They're things you do. They may be habits. They shouldn't be time blocks. Time blocks are enough that you are closing the world out. This is important enough to you to shut off people. That unless something is on fire, unless someone is dying, no one reaches you. You are shutting out the world. It's that important. That's where time blocking, if you're someone who needs that deep work, time blocking is great. It's judicious. It's for one thing. And when it works right, you will blow the doors off time blocks. I like to put time blocks on days with things afterwards, like dinner or something else. I mean, you don't necessarily want to lose all your family time, but when you're doing a doctorate, there's not a lot of family time. Like you getting a dissertation done. You're not sitting BSing around the dinner table. Um, and so a lot of times once you get into that habit, you're not in the time block and the work is still in your mind. You're like, I can't, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I got a time block coming up tomorrow. Yeah, no, I was thinking about this. And you kind of a little consumed with it. You're a little obsessed with it. And when you hit that and you've got your hour or your hour or 2 hour, 3 hour time block, and you've got 3 hours after that of just like, you know what? If I do my time block, I've earned myself just laying on the couch, staring at the ceiling, right? But a lot of times you get so into it that by the time you look up, it's like, oh my God, it's night out. It's 8 o'clock. And then you emerge from your home office or wherever it is you're doing your work, and suddenly you have a spouse going, "Hey, I didn't want to disturb you, because we talked about this is not disturbing, but I figured you'd be close to done, but dinner might be a little cold. Do you, or they may have already eaten. Yes, I ate at 6, but I have plenty. I'm ready to heat it up. Are you good?" And you emerge, and you're going to have to, after a really good deep work session, you're probably going to have to decompress and just kind of come back to the world. It's kind of like shaking off anesthesia, and you got to just come back into the real world. That there are a few things better than, and this isn't even a method. It's just like if you really care about something, you're going to set the time to do it, and you're just going to effing do it. If you care about your children, you're going to go to their play. And short of you being an ER doctor or you being in charge of something mission critical for public safety or something else, I don't think you need to necessarily abandon work. But you should have special times. If your child is putting on a Christmas play and they are a preteen, or if they're a teen and they have a very, critical match or game or whatever. And even if you can't make them all, you need to make special ones that you're going to make a big deal, that's a big deal to them, and you show up. And you just like the time, like other, you could time block those especially. And it is one of the situations, and again, language warning, but I want to be very, very blunt here. When it comes to a time block, anyone that tries to interrupt your time block without a damn good reason, and I do mean like a fire or someone is dying, not because like, hey, or if your spouse is trying to get to work and they cannot find their keys, yeah, that qualifies. But for everything else, a time block is your chance to tell the entire rest of the world to go to hell. If you're going to your children's sports, you are at your children's sports. That is what you've decided is the number one priority, and nothing will screw that. A time block is a force field of telling everyone to piss off. That's what a time block is. We normally treat it with the productivity, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be at all. So let's get to the 5-minute rule. Okay, let's go.
And author Cal Newport also used time blocking quite a lot, and they've written and talked extensively about how it's the best thing ever. Next on the list, we have the 5-minute rule. Now, the 5-minute rule is that if we are struggling with procrastinating on a big task or a project, we just tell ourselves we're just going to do it for 5 minutes. And actually, I have a 5-minute hourglass on my desk back in Cambridge that if I'm struggling with doing something, I'll just turn the hourglass over and I will genuinely convince myself that I'm only going to.
All right, we're going to speed this up a little bit. I'm even going to skip the little bit of AI on this one. What this really is, I will get the research portion of this. I think that's probably the only portion that we really need. Let's do the full AI from Second Opinion lens right here.
Second opinion lens, universally appealing microhack. Evidence, anecdotal common behavioral insight. Pressure test if it doesn't increase task start rate.
Yeah, sort of a
Solid starter trick, narrow
very
scope,
anecdotal method.
evidence medium. Research-based analysis. Procrastination is tied to self-regulation and short-term mood repair. Making starting easier helps. PubMed. It's a starter motor, not the engine.
Okay, so basically this is a take on another type of productivity hack. That productivity hack is that you don't know how to get started to get to the gym and work out. So what you're just going to do is put on your workout shoes. I'm just going to put on my workout shoes. That's all I will, if I still don't go, at least I put on my workout shoes. Then you put on your workout shoes, like, well, I already put my shoes on. What if I just get my bag and I go sit in the car? And I get ready like I'm going to drive. I'm just going to get in the car and start it, and I'm just going to sit there. And you're like, well, I'm already in the car. And you're just sort of hacking your way through this. Um, and this is, you're your own fool. So you are just trying to fool yourself into taking one little step and another step and another step. And I have a big breakdown here, which you are free to read. Basically, if you're having serious issues with this, you might not need a productivity hack. You might need to talk to a professional. You may have OCD, may have ADHD, you may have something where you're feeling much more unmotivated. If you want to do this every once in a while and you just have this little trick in your head, like, some days it's really hard to get to the gym and I'll just sit on the couch. Then you can say, okay, on those days when it gets really hard, I'm going to put my shoes on. You're not going to do well, I'll just do it for 5 minutes. Well, I'll just do it for 5 minutes. Does not work for most tasks. In fact, that's why I actually hate this. I hate the just do it for 5 minutes thing. And the reason I absolutely hate it is there's no just doing 5 minutes of working out, because it's going to take far longer than that, even if the workout equipment is in your home, to actually do that. So doing the micro steps is the same basic thing. But if you're really struggling with this might be more of a motivation issue. It could be a neurochemical issue where you may just want to double check. Are you experiencing depression? Are you having real motivation problems in this and other things, or is it really just this? Is it just this one? If it's just this one issue, it's probably not. But it always helps to talk to a medical health professional or your doctor and just say, I'm having problems getting motivated. I'm not really sure. Here are the various issues I have, and to talk to a professional. Like don't screw around and productivity hack your way out of ADHD. Like, yeah, you're likely going to be on a therapy path, and that could be something like cognitive behavioral therapy or neuro-linguistic programming. These are very old concepts. A lot of people don't like them, um, but and as I point out here, that's what this is. Um, this is the if you don't like cognitive behavioral therapy or you don't like neurolinguistic programming, you're not going to like the 5 minute rule or the just put your shoes on hacks, because it's like saying, I don't want to drink alcohol, but I'm willing to do shots. It's the same thing. It's the same method. Um, and those will set up complex methods borderlining on actual systems to deal with that if you're doing that in a therapeutic setting to actually get your motivations, and you're setting some very extensive guardrails that will lead you down certain paths. So I don't mental health and things like that are not a topic. Again, I'm in the I'm on more on the PhD side of things, not the MD side of things. I'm on the research side of things, the practical, but definitely not the medical side of things. I am not going to speak to productivity hacks if that's your actual problem. And so explore that if that's what you think's actually going on. I think we're going to just go ahead and speed right on to the next. And I think after this point, I have a few more where I highlight, and then we're going to kind of go even quicker because it's we're really getting down to some of the bottom of the barrel, but we have a few more things that I think he has in his S tier. And so the next one up is going to be systems.
Going to do it for 5 minutes. And this works really well. We've got to give this probably a B. It's not like absolutely essential, but it works really, really nicely, because the way procrastination works is that procrastination is generally a failure in getting
Oh God, we're still stuck on this 5 minute rule. Let's get up to systems.
procrastination. Next on the list, we've got systems. Now, this is something that James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, talks about quite a lot. And the distinction here is between goals and systems. So goals are that, the goal that we want to achieve. But systems are the process and the thing that we do to get to the goal. And focusing on systems is actually an amazingly useful productivity tip. And in fact, this is going to get the S life-changing ranking from me, because I often find that if I'm trying to get anything done, if I focus on the goal and I fixate on the goal, generally the thing won't get done. But if I think about what system can I build, what can I do right now, what's the process I can follow to do the thing, then the thing will get done. And if you hear interviews with anyone who's like uber productive, like, world-class athletes and authors and stuff, the thing they always
This is worth listening to. So I know it's going fast, but just let's pay a little extra attention here. We're going to cover this a lot more, and I will have the discussion of how this is not a system, but this is important to listen to.
swear by right now, what's the process I can follow to do the thing, then the thing will get done. And if you hear interviews with anyone who's like uber productive, like, world-class athletes and authors and stuff, the thing they always swear by is the system of training or the system of practice that they follow, rather than having a goal. Like, everyone who does any kind of sport wants to do really well in it, and everyone who's in the Olympics wants to win gold. So just having the goal is not enough. It's actually more about what is the system that gets you there. Next up, we have the daily highlight. Now, this is another thing.
Whoa, too fast. I'm going to disagree with on the goal thing. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You don't create a, we'll use the term system. I would prefer method, but you don't create a system or method because you don't have a goal. Of course you have a goal. If you don't have a goal, like I intentionally became a doctor. It's like, oh, I don't like setting goals. I just want a system for going to university. There are stopping points. In product, and this is where my expertise is coming back in project management or goal setting, you need a definition of done. I would consider a gold medal a pretty damn good definition of done. You may not win it, but completing it with your best effort type of thing, you may not want to say gold medal, but if you want a gold medal, yeah, you're done. Now, I think what they're really talking about here is you don't make a goal and then it's like, well, I have a goal and then I'm just going to randomly, like, yeah, when you make a goal, you make a plan. Like, I've read Atomic Habits. It's not bad. I think what it's basically my two takeaways from the books is goals are not enough, which, the AI points out very clearly here. That is true. And do you need to break down the steps and then break down, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's the takeaway. That's it. That's all you need to know about this. But a lot of people treat this. There's a real debate between goals and systems. No, there isn't. A system of fitness will not get you to an Olympic gold. Period. Full stop. It's like, well, to get a gold, I need to be fit. So I'm going to start weightlifting and I'm going to do that. Well, you need to practice whatever the health sport is, unless it's just weightlifting. The goal is going to tell you what system you're going to choose. It's A map system, when I set a destination, will tell me the turn by turns. Knowing what city I want to go to at least points me in the right direction, and then I get the steps and the turn by turn. But if you don't have a goal, there's no system of driving that will get you to good places. And I think that's where the woo woo bullshit around this goes. And I'm not pointing out either the influencer or the author, but I think where this method gets twisted and turned and just nipple pinched to death on is this idea that, well, you want to be healthy. Why don't you just make a system of eating and cooking? Why don't you just make a system? And then as your needs change, you can tweak that and it will always guide you to things that are not just goals, but you will get further. You may not get to the goal, or you may go blow past the goal and you don't need to stop. You can keep going down this sort of good path of good things and good vibes. Um, don't vibe yourself into life systems, goals, however you want to call them. That's bullshit. Have real goals. Have realistic goals. Have even I know it's kind of buzzwordy, but you can have stretch goals, which is, you want to do a little better than last. Sorry, a little better than last year, and a little better than last year. But to not have goals is awful bullshit. Maps work with both. You need a plan and goals. You need a goal to know where the hell you're going, and you need a plan on how to get there. They do not work without the other. You don't teleport to from the East Coast to the West Coast, and you don't get there without turn by turn directions. Neither of those work that way. You can vibe your way through and wind up in interesting places, but this is not a debate. And I think this is just, uh, I'll be honest, kind of idiocy. Um, but I think what the lens is saying here is that fitting for them, they don't, they're talking about things that can't have goals, but the goal, if they're thinking in terms of, I hit goal and I am done, all done forever and good. Um, if you're running a company, you have yearly goals, you have 5 year goals or 10-year goals, you have stretch goals, you have department goals, you have quality goals, you have profit goals, and you make those every year. It's what you're going towards. Um, the research is going to be mixed on that because setting the goal for a company is very different than goal setting for a person. Um, but I wouldn't become a doctor without setting the goal to become a doctor, and I wouldn't become a doctor without having a plan on how to get there and working with a committee and experts to get there. I wouldn't be a published researcher without a freaking goal. Like there was a goal to publish. This was, I'm just like, I'm just gonna have a system of really good writing. Okay, you'll be a really good writer and you'll never have accomplished that because you got to know where to apply the system, when to apply a system, and you need to know what priority it has in your life. If you don't have a goal, you can't prioritize that goal, and so you're just a bunch of uncooked spaghetti at that point. It's not actually forming to what you actually want, and you're gonna have your life's gonna be best tasteless. You're gonna be a collection of cool methods with no real direction. And I'll call out again, like it's like a start with why. You could call a why a goal if you want to be a certain type of person. You want to be someone who has a certain percentage of body fat. You want to be a person who is kind or spends holidays with family. That's a goal. Yeah, a goal by any other name still smells as sweet as Romeo would say. Probably not, but I don't think Romeo was very good at productivity goals. He did not end well. Um, if Romeo and Juliet had goals and methods, neither of which they had, that's what happens to people with neither goals nor methods. You get Romeo and Juliet. They could have just run off and got married and not played this little game. But A, they're children. Uh, which is its own weird issue. But B, it's just it's not a tale as old as time. It's not star-crossed lovers. It's people who don't know how to set a freaking just set a goal and go about it. If you go, that's Romeo and Juliet is what happens when you just vibe your life. They just vibe their way to double suicide. Bad thing. And I don't care about the monetization. I don't use the unalive bullshit. Sorry. We in a no bullshit zone. I'm not doing those. Oh, Romeo and Juliet unalived themselves. No, they didn't. No, the fucking play myself. That's not what they did. Um, but this is always done. And when I say this, I put in here, it's always done wrong. Um, these are always done wrong. And my biggest takeaway here is they keep calling it a system. I really, and this might be a misinterpretation of my remembering and AI of systems. Systems being processes and actions. Processes and actions. They're just methods. People are not creating complex enough to be real systems. Systems are things that integrate with other systems. Systems go on forever. Systems create spheres of influence. We're talking about, like, here's the 4 steps I take to go to the gym. There might actually be a workout system, and you could talk about something like CrossFit's a system, or the I don't know working out things, but I'm sure the bike riding. I did do the what's the one that there's the dance one. I tried that. Oh my God, that just hurts the leg so much. Some of those are systems. Some of those are very intricate, and you fill out papers and you do all sorts of things. Those would be systems. Um, you becoming a better cook is not a system. It's just a method. Every day I'm going to stretch and try a new ingredient every week or something like that. That's just a method. That's not a system. But you could have a goal that you want to be able to cook 10 new dishes by the end of the year using, and have used 20 ingredients that you've never considered you could cook with before. You could do that with every week. I'm going to pick an ingredient. I'm going to load up a recipe from the internet and I'm going to try it, and fail or not, I'm going to try it. And then if it does fail, I'm going to take the recipe, I'm going to throw it into Chat GPT. I'm going to put my results and what I thought, and I'm going to get feedback. I'm like, oh, okay. I I did put the salt in before instead of after, and that's why I because then I rinsed it, and of course the salt's gone and it didn't really absorb it. Okay, I totally get why it tasted bland. That's a method. That is not a system. That's just like, I'm going to do these 3 things. So I hate the use of the word systems in that context when it's not. That's not a system. Like, I'm somebody who's worked with systems my entire life, soup to nuts. Where I work now is so much interconnected systems. Um, eh, Think of it even from a programming sense. A system is something like an integrated piece of software, whereas a simple piece of software or a simple piece of programming is a method. It's a function. It does a thing. It does one thing, might have a couple variables, but it just does a thing. That's a method or a function. A system is an interconnectedness. Um, and so systems are not the process and actions to get there, in that sense, in the professional sense. And I believe that productivity systems kind of fall under business. When we think of business systems, we don't think of first in, first out. Okay. We talked earlier about first in, first out. First in, first out is a way that you do your inventory so that you don't have a bunch of old stock laying around. You don't have metal parts that are sitting on shelves rusting, because you make sure they get out the door first. And the newest parts they work their way out. The first one that got done is the next one out the door. And the 10 that got done after are waiting in line to go out. First in, first out. That's not a system. That's a method. A system, a business system would be an inventory system that uses multiple methods for planning work, planning jobs that are going to come into the factory and do those things. And it's going to be multiple methods interconnected. It's those are the actions. And the reason it's not a system for a person is people don't have that same separation that a system would have, where it's something like, where we're talking on the level of do moving. Like, we're not interconnected with our hands and feet putting the workout shoes on. That's why it's not a system. A lot of times we try to take these big professional things that Fortune 500s, large manufacturing, large data centers, and technology companies, and we try to take these big systems, like, what can this teach us about how we live our lives? Actually, not as much as you think. Um, People do not operate the same way as corporations. I wish we would stop trying to fit this massive square peg into our that was going to come out wrong. Don't put a square peg in a round hole. Let's just go that. I'm not trying. Woo! Oh, that almost came out really wrong. But you see what I mean? Like you're not going to fit Fortune. By God, you're not going to fit Fortune 500 methods into personal productivity. So we need to stop calling things systems and things like that. Like if you're going with a Sengi systems thinking the five methods, that applies to GM. That applies to Chrysler. If you're reading a book like Sengi, it's not applying to you having a better workout schedule for your week that doesn't coincide with your daughter going to ballet class. That's not a system. So that was my only other big thing about that. And yeah, I had. So the other thing, I'll cover just the top portion at least. Who have systems? Employers have systems. MLMs have systems. Cults have systems. CrossFit has systems. What people have are heuristics and habits and methods. That's a little more exact, I think, that I came up with after writing my notes was that they're really methods. Um, One of the things that I also say is that a lot of this is a bunch of crap. It's like my other take on this is a bunch of bull. Um, Saying, it's better to have what they're saying. It's better to have a system than a goal. That's like saying it's better to have a juicer before you get into juicing things. You can juice if you got a basic blender and you kind of juice, you start making orange juice and stuff. You can just squeeze the juice. Like this isn't magic. You going and buying a $200 juicing system when you're not even doing it yet is dumb. It's just really dumb and wasteful and expensive. So if you're following this, systems are more important than goals. You're going to waste a lot of money. You're going to be a wonderful consumer. Businesses are going to love you because you're going to buy all the stuff because that's what feeds the system. That's, oh, you can't juice. You don't have a system for juicing. How are you going to say that you're going to drink more juice? You don't even have a juicer. What you should do instead is have the goal, take the steps that you can for things like that. Like you can squeeze your own damn oranges with a spoon in your hands. Start doing that. Realize what's hard. If you once you start getting to the habit and you start really wanting to add things, then consider a juicer when you are a juicer. Children start with a goal of being an Olympian way before they have a damn system of like they dream of being a gold medalist before they have a fucking workout routine. Like I swear like it's very hard for me because I'm not we're we're taking extracts from the YouTuber and extracts from the book. And this is not, they are more nuanced, but the idea that people have taken away from this, that um, it doesn't matter what your goals are, the systems are what get you there. Well, of course they are, but the goals will come first. Yeah, you could happen into something that you find out you're really good at, and you just happen to be skating on ponds as a youth your entire life and you just happen to be good at hockey. That's actually not really how hockey players work. I have books to recommend on that, just random. But you have a damn goal first. Like your kid wants to maybe be a full-blown ballerina, so she goes to class, but her dream of doing that came first. She probably watched Frozen or something like that. It's like, oh, I want to dance like that. Mom's like, well, I have a way you can do that. The goal comes first. Like there are exceptions, rare exceptions. Um, Becoming a doctor, wanting to become a doctor, to have the goal, came before I enrolled in a doctoral program. And I had to come up and write an essay of reasons and my educational background before I was even considered. Having a system of well, to get there, I need steps. So I'm going to need a system for writing a dissertation. That comes later. And if you don't understand that, um, you can read these books to help you work on, how you're defining your steps, maybe. That could be your takeaway for these things. But you're going to have the goal first. And I don't care how prominent anyone is. It's one of those things I actually like doing when you learn enough about things, you can actually say what no real expert will ever say. No real expert will say that you just wander your ass into big accomplishments. Yeah, there's a lot of lucks and there's a lot of things that do happen by chance, but when we're talking at a certain scale, people are not accidentally Olympians because they just happened to do a bunch of skiing and a gold medal fell in their lap. No, they had the fucking goal. Like I can't soften that language. Like it's just idiotic that there are some out there that are spewing this crap that um, uh, magic suddenly appears. It's like that book, The Secret, except for we're going to system our way to good things. If I just have the right systems, then good things will come my way. That's not how any of this works at all. This is how none of this works. Uh, so let's go on to another that I also have. I love the little more confrontational. I love Ollie, but I love having a little more confrontation because I think it it shows that you can strip away a lot of the BS. Like these are interesting books. These are good books. These are not people who don't know what some of the things they're talking about. But when we're going to clarify things, we're going to clarify that in no world ever, no matter what argument is ever made by any professional or anyone with a PhD after their name, whatever claim they make, that somehow magical results are going to exist in systems alone. And we're going to go into goals. They're full of shit. They wouldn't have their PhD without the goal to be there preceding everything. That's not how cause and effects works at all, at any level, ever. So from there, let us proceed.
To do really well on it, and everyone who's in the Olympics wants to win gold. So just having the goal is not enough. It's actually more about what is the system that gets you there. Next up, we have the daily highlight. Now, this is another thing that's going to get the S life-changing ranking, and this is probably the single most useful single productivity tip I've ever come across in my life. And the idea behind the daily highlight is just every single day we decide what is the one thing I want to get done today, and then we just make sure we do that thing. And this can be something productive, like completely.
Dear audience, I'm gonna be a nice person. Dear Ollie, I love you. You have such you have such good stuff. I've gotten such good tips for honing some of the things that I do into to sharper tools. I really love your input, but are we really going like were you, I do know where this sort of also comes from. Like it's not just him, but were we really just were we just trying to pull things in to fill the S tier? Because I get that some of the name stuff is crap, and it's very niche. It's like the Apple Note, like I've said before, the Apple Notes versus Notion versus Obsidian debate. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, I've been using Obsidian over here. Am I a big note taker? No, not really. I use a lot of Markdown. This is not Obsidian is not actually my normal notes. It just looks nice when I'm presenting to you guys. I actually use an IDE cursor, so I use software development because it's actually the better place to do notes. I don't use notes like any other regular human on planet Earth. I actually use a programming engine because it actually is fire when it comes to doing notes. And I find Notion and Obsidian have their places, but that same kind of debate, like I see where Ollie didn't want to get into a lot of productivity tools that are questionable. I noticed he didn't really get into getting things done so much as he got into the little hacks. He's not trying to go into the big systems. Um, but audience, can you tell what my problem here is? I'm gonna slow this down. I got this nice little, I'm gonna take this, let's take it down to 1.2. Let's do this one over again.
To achieve, but systems.
Are the chapters broken here? I think
Daily highlight is just every single day we decide thing that's going to get the S life.
By the way, I don't know what's happening if the sun is rising, but you will notice his video is blown out. But this does not reflect on that.
Life-changing ranking, and this is probably the single most useful single productivity tip I've ever come across in my life. And the idea behind the daily highlight is just every single day we decide what is the one thing I want to get done today, and then we just make sure we do that thing.
You know, when I started this channel, I was talking to my wife and I said, it really does fit in. There's almost nothing I watch that I don't have a real comment on, especially with something that is just so completely. I get a whisper so I don't scream. It's called a fucking priority. It's not called a daily highlight. That's literally the definition of a priority. It's just a daily priority. So I have to whisper, just scream, and I would probably wake everyone up. Let us power through. Again, I'm sending love. I'm sending love. Jesus. I'm sending love. So
And this
much
can be
love.
something productive, like complete chapter of my book proposal, or it
Yeah, I've done that. You know what else they're called? Called goals. I think we just talked about that. They're called goals. Oh, I, I, sometimes I think it's only me, and that scares me when I see. And I'm like, am I the only one? I'm tempted to go into the comments, but I don't even like comments on my videos. Like, love you guys, but I'm not putting up with the bots and spam all the crap. I just, you know, if you like it, you like it. Like, hey, you have your own thoughts. That's why I'm not in the comments of these videos. I'm made a YouTube channel. But dear God, tell me it's not just me.
can be something completely unproductive, i.e. not work, like hang out with friends or like call my grandma. It could be anything like that. But the idea here is that if for every single day of the year, we could actually just do the single most important thing that we want to get done that day, that genuinely would change the needle for our productivity and also for our life. And so we're going to give the daily highlight an S ranking on the tier list. Next up, we've got the
I think the chapters did get messed up because he didn't actually get that up on the S, and I maybe didn't have an icon for it, but um to the notes. um I don't even want to do my thoughts. The research is interesting. And it's about, okay, this is basically is just planning that, not leaving everything up to whim, that urgency bias is real, planning helps, but one thing is most and I put this here. Read it if you want. This is my what the tier. I stopped myself. One of my goals this year was I was going to have a swear jar, cuss less. WTF tier. This should be like, are you serious, bro? Like, are you being serious right now? Your productivity hack is to set priorities, or you could also say set goals. And I am a believer, yes, you can only have one priority, not multiple. But when I say priorities, I mean like days where each day has a priority of its own. Um, that's actually going to feed into later on our to-do lists. And if you, and I will spoiler, he doesn't like to-do lists, but if you have what what's the bullshit wrapper on this one? If you have a daily highlight, you have a to-do list of at least one. You just do. My actual problem with to-do lists and why I disagree is not because I think to-do lists are great. So I think that's actually an interesting discussion. But man, this feels like so much filler that there wasn't even a tier icon. Like, man, I get you. Like, do the long form, my dude. Do the long form like I am. Like, just kind of riff on a couple of those things longer. You can still hit near the 15-minute mark. Like, don't. Why are we renaming priorities? Why are we renaming goals? Like, why are we inventing language to fluff it up? It's like I'm a I'm in the I what was the old joke? I'm in the news delivery service for the paper boy. Now you're a paper boy. It's like it's just priorities. It's just goals. What the hell? Um, where are we at now? Okay, we're going into batching. Let's move on to something that's actually productive.
And also for our life. And so we're going to give the daily highlight an S ranking on the tier list. Next up, we've got the technique of batching. Again, something that Tim Ferriss talks a lot about in the 4-Hour Workweek. The idea being that if you have tons and tons of emails, instead of checking email throughout the day at different times, you check email all at once, all at the same time. Or for example, like I'm doing today, instead of filming a YouTube video every day, I film 4 videos in a single day and then I have the other 3 days off. This is batching. It's pretty good. It works on a lot of things. It's not like massively life-changing, and therefore...
Okay. It's not massively life-changing. Actually, it is. The entire reason that the world works the way it is batching. Batching is changing a little bit with manufacturing with just in time. It's changing a little bit with AI. It's changing a little bit with certain things, but we often batch things. Meetings are batching topics of discussion with a particular group of people. If your company or agency or organization has a change management meeting, you're batching all of your change management discussions. If you're having a board meeting, you're batching all of your board member discussions and votes. Meetings are batches. Time blocking is a batch. That's exactly what those are. Is the world changing? It absolutely is. Now, let me put a steel man into this. What he's also talking about is those tasks that that poke at you. This actually is going to matter a little bit. Like this is a serious disagreement that he and I have. If you are a certain kind of individual where you're very focused on a singular task, you may never think of as batching, such as a writer, or YouTube, where things are not necessarily on a big assembly or on a batched up. So you don't make 10 videos and then you edit all 10 videos at once. So that workflow may not work in all situations. Batching doesn't solve everything, but without batching, the world collapses. And I literally mean the world collapses. Shipping containers is batching. Internet traffic is often batching. So that's kind of the whole point of a CDN. Batching as a whole, that's how you think that your computer is multitasking. Today it actually can. There's actually like multiple processes that can run. But in the old days, they introduced multitasking. And again, you'll get this story anecdote from many of the books. It's batching things up so that, certain things are being held back in a batch that don't need to be immediate, but all the immediate things, they seem to work. Like the mouse seems to move while the video is still playing, and yet the computer must think separately with one processor. The mouse moves need to redraw. Also, the video's playing, completely separate workflow. But it looks like it's multitasking because it's dealing with batching and unbatching. You can't have that, the world would collapse. The modern world would not be possible. If you take away batching, you can't even have agriculture. Agriculture is batching tasks of animal husbandry together in the morning and batching, this is the work time, and so we're now going to do all the seeding, and now we're going to do all the harvesting, and we're not going to put one before the other, or we're not going to focus on a single plant. We're going to plant all the plants at once. Batching is how any of this works. Without batching, we're no better than bonobos. I cannot strongly enough talk about batching. And that's just logistically. Let's talk mentally. Let's go into the notes. And man, AI nailed the exact problem with the thinking. To be fair, I don't think Ollie thought about it in this way. I think he thought about, like, is it really life changing if I do all of my emails at 2 o'clock rather than every half hour? Is that really going to change my life? I think what he understood that is properly in the batching basket is wrong. I just think he had the wrong frame of reference for thinking about this issue, and I think he would agree with me in this larger one. As I would hope so. He's probably smarter than I am. I think he was being very specific in, is there anything that he's actively extra batching that he thinks of as batching? He is batching. I guarantee you he is 100% batching all the time. He just doesn't realize it. And I'll go to my notes to just how pedantic I can get with it really does affect everything you do. So here we go.
Tier ranking C. Concept from Tim Ferriss in The 4-Hour Workweek.
No, it doesn't.
Instead of checking email throughout the day,
I get another, it's not another, yet another concept from Tim Ferriss. It's just how civilization works. It's how entire communities works. It's how society works. It's how government works. It's how accounting works. It's how everything works. Everything works by batching. Everything.
check it all at once. Example, film. 4 YouTube videos in one day, then have 3 days off. Pretty good. Works on many things, but
That would be batching without chunking. So chunking is required for batching. To batch properly, you need to be able to chunk things properly. I'm filming a very, very long video. I'm almost up to my 3rd hour of filming today, part 2. It's the same video though. I'm still doing the same series and I'm going to get through the rest of this. I know we have quite a few to go, but we're going to fly through the rest. Trust me on this. But this one's important.
not massively life-changing.
It's the only thing that makes life possible. But batching, like biology batches, like we have gestational stages. A bunch of certain things have to happen in this batch before we can start on the entire. We can't have like one cell at a time go from zygote to born baby and just string this along with it's life is batches.
Research-based analysis.
And I know it sounds pedantic, but it's the reason I'm being pedantic is it is a batching is one of those things that's close to a complete abstraction. When I'm say a complete abstraction, I mean it matters at the universal scale down to the quantum scale. Batching matters. Batching is one of those things that could almost be its own fundamental aspect of reality. Like it really does matter. There's nothing. The reason it sounds pedantic is it is everything. Like everything winds up being batches, and when you fight against batches and you don't go with the flow of that, you will be a train wreck.
Switching costs and attention residue are real. Batching can reduce.
So what's a switching cost? A switching cost is you just got down to analyzing a spreadsheet and your phone rings and it's someone from another department and they have a question and you hang up and you're like, okay, I'm back on this. And then you get an email notification from the boss and they need to ask about the quarterly results of something else. And so you go over there but you keep sitting down to the spreadsheet, but your switching costs, you cannot keep attention. And every time you switch, it is taking upwards of 15 minutes to get back on track because you're allowing yourself to be interrupted. Switching costs is the reason that time blocking works, because you're eliminating switching costs by telling basically the entire universe to piss off while you do this one thing or this one set of things, this one batch of things.
Interruptions. Science fiction. Batch comms when possible, but
again, there's this focus on comms. There's this real focus on batching is just the example Tim Ferriss used. I think that's myopic. It's just tunnel vision. Batching works great. I wouldn't say that the people that do the prepping for cook, and they do, they're gonna sit in the kitchen for 10 hours doing all this meal prep stuff. I Is that life changing? Probably not. But most of us would sit down let's say if you do holiday cards, try not to batch your holiday cards. Instead, hide them around your house and randomly sign and fill out your holiday cards and only mail them one at a time. Now compare that to batching them. Is there a context switching difference? Are you going to miss some people versus not missing? Like batching matters. Like and there are big things, but it's just so easy to make these for the small.
Don't apply it to urgent ops or relationships. Communicate expectations.
No, apply it to relationships. When you have a date, batch all the things you'd like to do with somebody. If you'd like to watch a movie and go to the zoo, go to the zoo in the morning and then go. Don't start spreading that out all over the place. There's no reason to start doing that. Like you can do that in relationships. Like I I have a group of friends at work and we sometimes text back and forth. Um, but we save up the big conversations for when we meet. We save them up for a batch.
915 color coding. Tier ranking D.
Okay, that's the color. That's the color coding. Um, so I'm going to read this because I think it's just batching lowers context switching tasks. Period. Full stop. It and it lowers them all the way down to the freaking quantum level. Um, yeah, nature batches. That's what an atom is. Things group. Like things group. Opposite things group. Things that attract. Things that magnetize. Um, the weak force. The strong force. It's all batching. It's all organization. Um, it's all batching. And Ollie says he doesn't do this. And once you think about it, this is just the obvious tier. Um, the only time I'm gonna call like I'm gonna call bullshit. I'm gonna call bullshit because I don't think he thought about it. I think this was a video he didn't really put that much into, and I think he was really talking about emails. Um, but I'm pretty sure that he doesn't take one shower to wash his hair and a separate shower to wash his ass. That he batches his body washing at a particular moment. They are separate tasks. Like if you go to the bathroom and you wash your hands, you're not taking a full shower. They're a separate task. Or you can wash your face, or you can brush your teeth, or you can batch them. You have a time when you shower and brush your teeth. Like that's if you if you're going to mow your lawn and you've got a fence and you got to take care of the weeds, you're either going to probably weed just before or just after mowing your lawn. You're going to batch them. You're not going to like, I'm going to weed in the morning and I'm going to mow at night unless there's some other weird reason that you need to do that. When you're in your kitchen, you're going to clean your kitchen counters in the same time frame you do your dishes. If you don't, you're weird. Why would you leave your stove and everything uncleaned after dinner and cooking and whatever and the stuff and put stuff away after you're done? You're batching these as they're complete sets of tasks. That is batching. What Tim Ferriss is pointing out is that we shouldn't treat anything else not as a batch, such as taking emails as they come like raindrops falling from the sky. And he says, well, that's not life changing. It actually is because we batch. The only argument is don't let things unbatch. Look at it in the reverse. You don't let things unbatch. So I disagree. It's not only the S tier, it's the only thing that makes the tier list even possible. You know why? He's batching all of these reviews. His video is a batch. Like maybe it's the IT guy in me, but everything he knows is a batch. It's all a batch, all the way down. It's like turtles all the way down. It's batching all the way down. So let's go on to the color coding. And I'm pretty sure here I am definitely not. Yep, nope. We're gonna start rapid firing because we're coming up in the next hour and a half, and I really don't want to actually do, um, if I can avoid it, a third video. We might get there, but I'm gonna try not to. We're gonna fly through these. I might even not even need the notes. Let's see how fast we can go. We're so close. So close.
I'm going to give it a C ranking on our tier list. All right, let's speed up through these a little bit more. Next on the list, we have color coding, which my friend Noah Kagan uses quite a lot. The idea here is that you color code your calendar depending on what category the task is in. So
Don't do this. Like, have fun with your calendar. This is not a product. This is a categorization. You can use colors. Your phone does this. You can categorize your folders now in Mac. You can color code your emails and topics. Color coding is fine. It's somewhat of a quick reference. I usually use things like um, I would use blue for school. I would use red for personal. I would use green for work and yellow for just my projects or something like that. And it's like, well, where would you put your home stuff? I consider it personal. So I have those everywhere. So if I see something of those colors, it kind of gives me a quick little thing of where to do. And, I have an odd, not quite ever finished folder organization method. That's a whole other discussion. Um, that is a quagmire. But yeah, I throw colors around. Have fun. It's not a hack. Doesn't matter. You do it, don't do it, doesn't matter. But you know, some people are artsy. Some people love it. Yeah, there's a whole YouTube deep dives where people are just like making these intricate personal calendars and they sell stickers and stuff like that. And they're like a coloring book for adults. They look cool. I'm not like ragging on them. They look cool, but it's not productivity. Like it's like, should you organize things and categorize? Yeah, you can use colors. You could technically organize by sound. I'm sure that if more of us paid attention to the hearing disabled, or sorry, the visually disabled, and we had to have more visual or audio cues, we could actually have like, they're now making like, I think it's the new MX Master from Logitech. The mouse will have audio or like rumble feedback, so you can actually sort of feel the screen. There's a lot of different ways you could do things. It's not groundbreaking. I agree with
Healthcare
that.
stuff gets a different color, and
It
work
looks
stuff gets
cool.
a different color, and life stuff gets a different color. I don't personally use it myself, so this is
I do that with some things. I've got my whiteboards are currently thin. Two of my entire office walls are whiteboards. I like to color code stuff just to give it contrast. I sometimes will pick a color for certain topics. They don't mean anything. It looks like if it's all black and white, then it just blurs together for me. So I want things to pop out different ways. So if I look at a yellow thing, I see all the other yellow things on the board. If I look at a blue thing, all the other blue things are popping out because I just know, hey, oh, those are related. It it's just markdown. It's just more real world heuristics.
going to get a D ranking. Next on the list, we have to-do lists. Nothing
Mm,
much needs to be said there.
wrong. So, oh, I did actually write notes. Um, yeah, highlighters neat. Use them. Was the last one? To list. We're gonna have. We're gonna
I don't
touch
really
this
like
one.
the idea of to-do lists. Instead, I
Sure, you do. Everything you do is a to-do list. Everything is a basic to-do list in the most basic sense of the word. The very first recorded human writing is a list, whether to do or not. People like lists. People get mad that ChatGPT keeps making bullet lists, and I hate bullet point lists as well. That's just people. It's just speaking at bullet point lists. It gets frustrating and annoying. But no, they're great. I'm going to go through this one real quick. I know the research on this one basically said that it's offloading, planning to reduce. Yeah, it's your external memory. It's called a piece of paper or a tablet or a mud and clay. That's what civilization is based on. Writing is fundamental, and a to-do list is just, hey, I have a bunch of stuff I need to get done. I don't want to forget them, so let me write them down somewhere. A to-do list could even be an inbox, but the idea of writing something down to not forget it because you need to get it done rather than holding your memory is S tier, because again, like batching, civilization is built on it. Um, if you want, it's like the whole, should we take notes based on books? Well, no, there is a piece of paper that already contains those notes. It's called the book. That's called writing. It is written down. It's the book. Now, maybe take those highlighters and highlight in the book. Just some ideas. But I'm gonna let them fly through here because
I call
I
like my
just
to-do list a my to-do list. And so when I figure out what I'm doing for the day, yes, I do the daily highlight. That's the one thing that I swear by because that's the one thing I absolutely have to get done. But then everything else falls under the might do list. This is stuff that
I don't know if he has or who his partner might be. It's like, hey, can you go can you pick up stuff at the store tonight? I am going to be making this recipe, and so I need these 4 items. You just got a to-do list with 4 items on it, and it's batched in a single trip. But yeah, that's just how the world works. It doesn't have to be a specific to-do. So I'm kind of being a little pedantic, but not. Like a to-do list is basic entry level. You're not eliminating them. They're just going to exist in your life, whether you actively sit down and say to-do list and you start making like check boxes where you're going to check off each one. And I think going to that, yeah. Do you need them? No. Should you have the list? Do you need to check them off? No, but you need the list. One of my suggestions that I have within my is, and my bucket is externalized memory tier. Yeah, that's a thing. It's just a thing. Um, Back in the day, we used to have little notepads, these tiny little notepads that were like yay big. that were like the tiniest little wire-bound notepads, and you used to have a pen, or you can even get a small pen. You just kept them in your pocket. If you had something that came up, you flipped it open, you wrote on a page. The next thing you remember, if you remember where you left off, you just flip to the last written on page, and usually your most recent to-do list. And when you were done, you flip it over. You could use this side. It would just, the pages would flip from one side to the other with the spiral bound. And if you wanted to get rid of it, you done. Or if you need to give someone your phone number, you wrote it down, you ripped the paper off, you handed it to them. Like, that's how the world worked before phones. And so I think a lot of people today might not think they have a to-do list, because back then, yeah, maybe not everyone had one, but the person who had one had like a superpower. Then of course, you got into the whole Rolodex thing, which I was never a Rolodex kind of guy. But now we all have phones, therefore we all have lists, and we're doing list things all the time. It just, we treat them as text messages, or some other type of DM, or shared Apple Notes, or reminders, but they're all to-do lists. Like at their base core, they're all to-do list. That is my only, it's just, is it S tier? Yeah, it's S tier because for us all, because yeah, humans got way more advanced when we started writing shit down. Full stop. Like S tier, like the reason we have civilization. So on we go.
If I feel like it, if I want to be bothered to do the thing, then I will just check things off. The important things are being done each day thanks to the daily highlight. I don't really need to overly worry about these little things on my to-do list. Therefore,
That makes, I just want to add there, that makes zero sense. Just because you have a daily priority, why the hell wouldn't you have a daily list? If you had an idea for dinner and you needed to get the chicken out to thaw, if you had something else to do, like, there are more things to do in your frickin' day than a to-do list. Maybe he's just focusing on work, but even having that, you still have to atomize. Going to the atomic habits, you still need your methods and systems. So if you need to do new things, like for instance, file your taxes and it's the first time, you'd probably better have a checklist where it's like, yeah, but I made my daily highlight. I mean, priority, I mean, goal of the day. That you might actually still might want to like mark things down of like, well, tomorrow's daily highlight. Like, you don't just wake up one day like, no, I think I'll do taxes today. I'm going to write my daily highlight of do taxes. Probably should be something you plan weeks ahead. And therefore it's going to be something that's like, what am I going to need? What are you going to write? A to-do list. I'm going to get this document and this document and this document and this document. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to check this account, this account, this account. Yeah, you do it all the time. I can just pull those examples out. Like I kind of feel like Ali's not even really thinking hard in this. It's like he's thinking like, would I recommend Todoist to people? Is that a good productivity app? It's like, no, you live in a society that's based on lists, regardless of whether or not you get Todoist or whatever you want. And you want to do everything. Like, my system of productivity is all to-do list based. Like, okay, easy, but no, it's like batches. Like, you don't exist without it. Like, you don't work without it. It's everywhere.
I reckon
I mean, doing this video for me, like, my dude, your chapters are my to-do list right now. So I didn't have to write it down. It's there. So
we're going to give this a ranking of C, which is pretty good in some contexts, but not in all contexts. It's all right. They're pretty good. Next up, we have the idea of listening to things or watching things at speed multiples.
I think this is sponsored, but I think in honor of this, I'm just gonna sit here and we're gonna show that sometimes it's good and sometimes not. So let's just do a 2x. We'll do this section as a 2x.
This is absolutely yes. This is 100% life-changing. One of the most life-changing things you can do, which is like when I'm listening to audiobooks on Audible, generally I'm listening to them at double speed. Sometimes even when I'm watching TV shows, if I'm watching them on my own, I will just watch them at double speed or triple speed and slow down for the more interesting bits. I know people lose their minds over this stuff, but genuinely I enjoy TV shows and books more when they're faster paced at 2x speed than I do at 1x speed. Like, I'm sorry, it's just the way I am, it's just the way I'm wired. It's just more fun when something is just a little bit quicker. Incidentally, if you haven't gotten right, a few more things to talk about. Let's talk about deadlines next. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of deadlines. Deadlines work for a lot of people because that's the only thing that it takes to get ourselves.
Wow, that pop-up was just painful. I kid, but I actually agree with him here. If you can learn to consume content, like audiobook readers are slow. Audiobook readers. This is Audible. So yeah, speeding it up, it's going to sound more like normal conversation. Speed it way up, it'll almost sound like me. I don't need to do that. I have a shortcut. and man, he is getting so blown out. I think his time is burning as much as I am. So he must have spent hours making the 15 minutes, whereas I'm taking his 15 minutes and making it into hours. Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. Um, Now he does something I don't do, and one of the things it again the if I go into the notes here, it's like, oh, big sponsor alert. This is all about the sponsor. Um, Not really. Comprehension does start breaking down at 2x. Um, I don't know if that's with or without training. My comprehension starts breaking down at 3, but it really depends on the original speed. It's better to judge that by words per minute, if study wise. But I generally agree. I baseline 1.2 because people tend to speak slower in any kind of presentation, so it just brings them up to at least a normal slow speed. We're all normal at 1.5, and if I'm listening to long form content or podcasts, I'll often fire it up to 2x. If it's high content dense, like for instance, if I listen to an NPR news and they're doing like 7 minutes and they're just going over the news, it's usually highly packed in dense content without a lot of filler. I'll actually do that at like a 1 because or a 1 or 1.2 because it's cramming so much it's hard for the person to absorb. Whereas like this normal speaking like this, like you can listen to me fairly well at 3 even with my rapid speaking because there's a lot of nuance, filler, conversational style. I'm not just giving you like 2 hours of facts. So there's a little difference there. What are we at now?
Ourselves into gear because now we have a deadline and there are consequences. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of deadlines. Deadlines
Well, none of us are, but um, I think what he's talking about here are self-imposed deadlines. Um, Research that the AI pulled up says that self-imposed deadlines are set suboptimally. I think that's usually due to a lack of milestones. I think this is something setting deadlines. I think most people are pretty poor at this task naturally. I don't think setting deadlines is something people are very good at. And project management, whether it's waterfall method or something else, is very good of um, giving people the false impression of timelines. People are piss poor at timelines. If you've ever played project management poker, you know how piss poor people are at managing timelines. Because even after you do the project management poker, you got to take that timeline and multiply it by like 1.5. Like is oh, the project timelines, things being over budget and over time are just like it's a truism. It's not like oh yeah that happens a lot. No, it always happens. Like it is shocking if something is actually on time and on budget, or even one of those. Um, he's not a fan of deadlines, self-imposed deadlines. If you're very binary on this, and you have the things that have like there are not self-imposed deadlines, they're just deadlines, like doing your taxes is just a deadline versus a self-imposed deadlines. I I'm a forgiving person as well. I think on this, I think we can agree. I think what really helps is you have to get down to the essentials. You have to, and who's this matter for most? Managers. Managers have to self-impose deadlines. So again, this is one of those manager only tiers. It, if you're not a manager, I don't think you need to worry about, oh, I actually just had a badly copied note. You don't have to worry about deadlines so much, but if you're in a management, you do have to worry about deadlines. I think one of the things that I would disagree with him here is um, what kinds of deadlines he's talking about. Because I think if we're talking about actual like deadlines that he would give staff, I think he very much is in favor of them because I don't think he would give infinite time to editors. But you know, whether that's a deadline or there's a lot of ways to frame that. I don't really I don't really disagree because I think what he and I probably both would struggle with is what does a deadline mean? Again, you have an assignment to do, you have a job assignment, or you're doing taxes. And again, that's even what the AI was like. That's the first go-tos is like, you're not filing taxes against a deadline, or you're going to go to prison. But this is more the self-imposed. Um, and I don't, it's one of those, come as it may. There's a few different ways to do this. Your whole life doesn't have to be about um, productivity. You don't need to hack everything. Sometimes it is okay to, you don't need a deadline on how on becoming a good cook unless you're doing that as a profession. If you just want to enjoy it, it really does go into something he talks about there, which is just sort of enjoy the ride. So, I'm having a hard time on this one, really giving him a second opinion because this is its own true deep dive. I'm gonna let him finish out here.
Work for a lot of people because that's the only thing that it takes to get ourselves into gear, because now we have a deadline and there are consequences. But I really like the way Seth Godin approaches this. He says in one of his blog posts, deadlines work. They work because they focus the mind and they create urgency. They work to get us to file our taxes or finish an assignment. They're an external lever of the work that we have to do.
Very much.
On the other hand, dessert works too. You don't need an external force to encourage you to eat dessert after you finish all your vegetables. It's something you get to do, not something you have to do. And so I much prefer to think about stuff as get to rather than have to, and that's why I don't really like using deadlines. Yes, they're effective, and we've got to give them a C on the list because they're useful in some circumstances, but I think we do want to build a life in which we don't have to rely on deadlines, and instead we just do the stuff that we enjoy doing, that we feel like.
That I'll slightly disagree on. I think, yes, for the enjoyment of life, but I don't believe in building a life of dessert. Like, I'm sorry. Again, that doesn't comport with, people with children, unless like you're doing like farm raised, cage-free children, some kind of, turn them loose and not taking an interest in life. It's just not a thing it's just not a thing. It's never going to be a thing. Um, I don't think it's certain circumstances. I think most circumstances have some sort of deadline. Um, there are the government requirements, plates, taxes, renewing your license, passports, all those things are deadlines. But so are many of our endeavors. I enjoyed school. It was very stressful. It took all of my time. I loved every minute because I'll never get to do it again. Um, but filled with deadlines. And maybe, you know, maybe his academic experience, like a lot of people, is enough stressful that then you don't ever want to deal with those deadlines again. And you're free of deadlines and you run free and you hold your hands out through the field of flowers and you live deadline free. But doctor's appointments have deadlines, especially if you have a pregnant wife. Um, Life has a deadline. Memento mori. We will all die. I've been at door's death quite a few times and have gone into the black abyss not knowing if I'd ever wake up again. Life is deadlines. It's not all dessert. That's I don't know. I it's not most of the videos I see from that, but that's a little too fluffy of a mindset, especially when you turn on the news, you realize that life is preciously short. So
Feel like we get to do, that we feel like we are blessed to do. Next on the list, we have the Eisenhower matrix. Now, the idea here is that we split up everything we have to do into one of 4 quadrants based on whether it's.
I don't believe in the exact method, but I think um, it's you know, the importance level versus the urgency level. I went with cups of coffee and such like that, which was funny because I hadn't looked at his. I just started going through the list and I pulled out an Eisenhower matrix as a better alternative to one of his.
Whether it's important or not important, and based on whether it's
he
urgent
wasn't
or
hot
not
on.
urgent.
I was like,
now,
well,
I think
he
the
didn't
Eisenhower
think about
matrix
it.
is absolutely fantastic. I don't really use it consciously. I kind of use it.
I 100% agree here. I point it out as a good way to train yourself to think about things, just like a SWOT analysis. So if you go through your MBA or do anything where, uh, for some reason, master's programs love this for anything doing with organizational management. They love SWOT analysis. The number of times that I've been in an organization when the organization wanted a SWOT analysis, I don't know what industry they got this from, and it's never left management books, but I've never been in an organization that really wanted a SWOT analysis. Like you can if you're doing like small business, like it's helpful to do, but it's also once you do a few, you just know how to think. And so you're always just going to think in those terms. So it's not a thing you do so much as the thing you understand, and it's just a part of your thinking going into it. I think in Eisenhower's matrix is like that, that you understand that there's things that are urgent and important, things that are not urgent and not important, and you've got the but there's another way to do that too. It's like not necessarily the urgency versus the not urgency. There is the time to task completion. So if you're tying that in with that idea of 2 minute task, then you have things you can accomplish quickly and things you can't accomplish, and that doesn't speak to their urgency. So if you could turn this into a Rubik's cube. If you just keep adding things, you can make a matrix. However, I will point out one area, because again, this video is 4 years old. Do you know where an Eisenhower matrix is highly valuable today? In AI. If you give AI a list of types of categories and you have any related broken down by how you feel things are important and how urgent you feel things are, you can then have the AI automatically take these things, and when it's given big lists, it can go, oh, well, let me think through the Eisenhower matrix of what's important to the user versus what's not important. And we're just going to throw the not important away. And then we're going to see the urgent versus not urgent. We're going to prioritize by urgent and non-urgent. So highly useful for AI, because it's one of those things when you get a reasoning model that's thinking, it can do that there, and doing that lets it bypass and like, oh gee, I wonder what this and I wonder what that. It's going to sort of condense and compress that information. So if you think of as a um, an adult-sized child as intern for a lot of AI thinking and understanding, um, Eisenhower matrix is actually useful inside of a process, not necessarily something you would just sit down and do. I mean, you could. Um, I would I would probably do it before I would even sit down and do a to-do list, because at least in my head, because I'm already in my head prioritizing or looking through my email inbox. I'm like, these are all not important, and just mark them red. And then I'm going for and marking everything that's important. I'm just looking for everything urgent and moving it to the top. So it's an Eisenhower matrix. You're not just sitting there drawing the box though, but let's
I use
go.
it subconsciously, but I don't really use it as the Eisenhower matrix. I just decide
Man, just didn't even see that. I didn't actually watch this video. I really wanted to go through this live. I'm trying to get that down and just making sure my workflow is working. But man, me and Ollie are on the same page. It's like the SWOT analysis. You just get it in your brain. You're like, no, it makes sense. It's like the when you learn genetics and you learn like you got a blue eye parent and a brown eye parent, and you got another brown eye parent, another, and you try to figure out like what's the percentage that, or what's the genetic chance of having a child with this color eyes or something like that. Like you get in your head, nobody sits down and actually draws that out. Like it's like geneticists are not sitting there going, I think we need an eye color chart. I think we need to figure out, yeah, like that's the that's like such a
decide for everything I need to
level
do, is this actually important and do I actually need to do it? And generally, if it's important, I'll find time to do it. So we're going to give this a ranking of D on the list. Like it's useful
Mm, I don't know about his rankings. I would put it. I'd move it up into C, but I basically anything B or lower is just something you should be aware of. So, um, I think for most people, I think for a lot of people, it's intuitive. I think where the Eisenhower and SWOT really come into, and SWOT's not so much natural. I think where it comes into is it's where people don't think that it applies, and it should. So there are situations where people aren't prioritized, like in email, people kind of do that, but because they're just used to it. But I think there's areas where they don't think about that. Like for instance, would you Eisenhower matrix your shopping list? You could, especially if money was short or you're trying to save money. It's like, which of these items are really important? Which of them are an ingredient we use everywhere? Which of them do we need now, or which do we already have some left? I think you could actually sit down and you could consciously do that in an area when it's very much not needed. So I can't argue too hard about the D tier.
It's useful for some people, but I don't personally use it a lot myself. Next, we have the technique of setting goals. Now, this one is a little bit controversial because
Now, I did get a little sneak peek about what he's going to talk about, and I have a very interesting take. I just had a whole thing about goals, right? You're going to get a take you had probably not expected at near the 2 hour
a
mark.
lot of people swear by the idea of setting goals, that your goals should be smart and specific and measurable and achievable. And if you set your goals, then you'll manifest
I just did a study on this. I just ran a study, and I can tell you right now, and this is comparing it to other conceivably better methods from Harvard Business School, nonetheless, and I compared it directly to SMART goals, which my hypothesis was SMART goals was going to get its ass kicked. It did not. Um, Things did change, but it had nothing to do with that. So I actually did a study on this, so I can actually speak authoritative, probably as the world's like I don't get to say where I'm like the expert on when it comes to productivity, SMART goals, and um, certain business settings. I am the world's foremost expert now on SMART goals in this context. I had a limited, it was a study that was limited to a particular industry within the US. So I'm not, but there also, as far as I can tell outside of medicine, there are no other SMART goal experts in the world. They just don't exist. You know why? They probably don't need to be anymore. I'll be honest, you're probably fine without more smart goal experts. I did not want to be a smart goal expert. And granted, I was expert about the outcomes, not working on the actual aspects of it.
Manifest your future and you'll know what you want to get to. I'm not really a huge fan of goals. I think they're useful in some areas of life, but generally I'm much more about the systems and about the journey.
And we just proved, sorry, Ali, that's actually wrong. It's in very limited context. You can be about the journey, but you wouldn't be a doctor at all without the goals. Like your life is like the entire foundation of your life is goals. Smart goals, yeah, we can live without smart goals. Like smart is not a bad way to think about the things you probably should put in a goal, but it's an interesting method for making a goal. It's certainly not the only method. You wouldn't need to do your daily affirmative your priority. You need to do your daily priority when you're setting your daily goal of the thing you need to accomplish to have a day. Again, you set one of these daily, my dude. I don't care what you call it. It's a goal. It's the one thing you want to accomplish a day. That's a goal. I think what he specifically means, and he probably gets better later on, especially with a lot of feedback with some of these videos, is what you mean are long-term goals, like a yearly goal or a lifetime goal, or, you know, I think that's one of the things that was lacking in this video, and I think that's one thing a lot of people need to look at. Like, but that's the thing. Like, the reason I'm kind of giving Ali a little crap here is regular people are going to watch this, and he thinks he's just dogging on goals when what he means are long-term goals. And for someone, it's going to cause the comments. It's like, how do you mean you can't have goals? Like, how do you even function in life? And you don't. He's talking about whether or not you're going to set long-term goals of where do you see yourself in 5 years? Can you live without those? 1,000%. I'm 1,000% on board with Ali. He's 100% correct. The language is just so inexact here. I get that he's kind of bringing it down, but I I, I don't think you shouldn't just be like goals. Like you don't have to go into too deep of a detail, but you went into smart goals, and that's not smart goals aren't even really related unless you're talking about performance management systems used by employers during their performance reviews of employees, and they ask the employees to set smart goals for yearly when they're working on things like stretch goals. Like then the smart goals come into that context, but it doesn't sound like the context you're working on. I'm not sure where your head's at.
Journey.
Like I'm splitting it apart for you, which is like you 100% have goals. Atomic habits, as interpreted through systems, are more important than goals is absolute complete bullshit. But you might be talking about long-term goals, but you're not specifying it, and yet you're bringing in smart goals, and that really doesn't have anything to do. That is a method for making goals. That is not a complete system in and of itself. And I hate to tell you this, but SMART goals does have one piece where it has been shown to be valuable, and that's in patient outcomes. That when SMART goals are made for health reasons, for treatment reasons, for whether it's palliative care or other types of care, SMART goals actually do show um, to be better than general goal setting. So as a as one of them doctors, you might not want to say the SMART goal thing because the research went the other way. Just to just take it from somebody who read all that research because I had to because there is no other research on SMART goals except for the medical. Like don't go in that direction, my dude. Like
Journey.
Especially even in your life, you bust your knee, you might get put on smart goals during your physical therapy and rehab. So it'll matter a whole lot to you. Then, like I get, he's like, do I set long-term goals now? No. However, one of the things that you should always do, which we're gonna go into in other videos here, so the second letter in SMART is measurable, and as we pointed out here, a real system has measurement. If you look at the last video, because there's no measurement in any of these, I defy that any of these are productivity systems. If there is no method of measuring outcomes, um, I I think you could validate a lot more of these systems with proper management, or sorry, proper measurement. Um, what gets measured gets managed, but also got to be careful if you start um, performing to the measure, which is a completely separate problem. But if you're not measuring anything, even your own satisfaction, yeah, you might want to look at the SMART goals. Like you literally just said, let's go back here.
Manifest your future and you'll know what you want to get to. I'm not really a huge fan of goals. I think they're useful in some areas of life, but generally I'm much more about the systems and about the journey rather than about.
But is it the journey you want? Are you measuring, what was the happiness things? They don't have to be that official of a measure, but you need to have some type of measure and accountability. And of course, you might be using journaling to that. You as the viewer might be using journaling for that, and that's fine. But you all of this lacks measurement, and the only thing that became close to bringing in some form of measurement was the SMART goals. And so I would argue that none of these are systems. So to say I'm focusing on the systems, none of these were. I don't think that was the point, but I don't hear a system message. I think possibly. I don't know. I don't. I honestly, this is one of the first ones that came up. It's sort of a lower one, but it's the number one. If you put in best productivity hacks, this is the number one video. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Not sure if this
About the
was a
destination. And
serious enough
so,
video.
to me, goals, I keep changing my mind about goals. These days, I'm rating goals as a C on the list. I think they're kind of useful.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I want to be an actor, but I don't know what kind of movies I want to do. Like, it's still finding myself. I know what I want to do type of thing. It's like, I think in this point in his career, he's basically like the college student who knows he wants to go to college, but he doesn't want to know what he doesn't know. It's like at this point in his life, all he doesn't know what he wants to actually do with his life, in the YouTube space or the business space or things like that. So I can see where he doesn't think he has goals. But he's doing videos with metrics. He's looking a lot at his metrics. He's got shorter term goals. He has things, metrics he wants to hit, and I think he's focusing too much on his aspirations, and I think he's doing a productivity video when what he really wants to do is how do I expand my horizon? How do I focus it? He really wants to, and I think that's why I keep coming back to it. I think he wants a start with why. I think he really is searching for his why. He's really going down the Simon Sinek road, and that's a very particular place where you might not have goals, where you're so in productivity, this is called explore versus exploit. When you're doing explore, you are trying, think of it, a common analogy of this is restaurants. Explore is just try all new restaurants. Every time you try a restaurant, try a completely separate restaurant. And you're going to do that for a time. And you have some that were really good, some that were really bad, some that were okay. Once you have an idea, once of all the restaurants in the area, now you're going to switch to exploit, where when you want to go out and have a good dinner or a particular dinner, you're going to go through the catalog of restaurants and make a selection. You're not going to try a new one. And generally, in a lot of cases, you want to maintain some level of explore, some level of exploit, and the level of exploit will always be higher, except for when you're starting off. And when you're highly starting off, like my guy Ali is here, he's going to just be in explore mode. He's the kid who, it's not like the little girl who likes, I want to be a ballerina, or she says I want to be an Olympic skier when I grow up. They're not exploring. I mean, they're trying, you could say they're trying the clothes on. But then they'll go do that. So they have the goal first, which is why I give so much crap for goals. And if you're in explore mode like that, and you're just like kids, like they won't settle down. They're in soccer, and then they're in ballet, and then they're in kickboxing, and then they're in wrestling, and then they're in track, and then they're in football, and then on and on and on. Yeah, they're in explore mode. They're goalless, and all of these read more as a psychological picture of Ollie. That Ollie's in explore mode, and being in explore mode is not the time really. I hate to say it, you, you are the least qualified person in that state of mind to rank productivity tools because you should not be using productivity tools. You're in explore mode. You're not in exploit mode. And productivity tools are about exploitation, not exploration. Um, People going through work emails are not exploring, they're exploiting. People who are at their day jobs, or they're trying to complete a project, or they're trying to lose weight, or they're not. Nobody makes a New Year's resolution to go to the gym because they want to explore the gym. They want to exploit something known and take advantage of the a system. They don't want to. Oh, gee, I wonder what it would be like to use a Swedish workout method. I want, okay, I wonder what it would be like to use a French workout method. Like they're not doing that. What about the Brazilian workout method? Like they're not doing that. They're not exploiting, they're exploiting. They want to go, they want to do the things that are the common things and just they just get it, right? Those people have goals. Those people don't need systems. They need a few methods. Um, and they're in a very different place than where you're coming from. You're in a very aspirational type of thing here. Um, and you're like in freeing up time, you're sort of in greenfield, blue sky territory of discovering where your life is going. And I think that really finally comes out here. And we just go back to exactly what he said. Like same with deadlines. He I just don't want the deadlines. I don't want the these things weighing me down. There's things that I want to, and I want a life of dessert. And you really tell the mindset's kind of coming through here. And I think it's the mindset and your actual subject matter are just clashing so much. And unfortunately, like this is the number one YouTube result. Like again, all due respect, and I love watching his channel. Probably I was probably subscribed well before this time, so this probably came up at once.
I keep changing my mind about goals. These days, I'm rating goals.
See, just he's in explore mode. My guy's just in explore mode. Um, yeah, I've seen far better quality. And I know I'm trying to make this a quality about him. It's more about those systems, but um, there are a series of very bad takes in here because they're too generically worded. They're not nuanced enough where they need to be. The language is so not exact. The goals should be long-term goals. Smart goals should have never even come up. The smart goals are for definite achieve. You're definitely trying to achieve something like not dying of liver cancer, or losing weight because you're pre-diabetic. Like you're trying to get very specific outcomes because there are definite deadlines that you're running up against that affect your mortality and your insurance and your quality of life. So I mean, it's a lot of things in here that probably could have been this might have been, I vibe some things, but this might have been just a little too vibed out. Um,
Want to get to. I'm not really a huge fan of goals. I think they're useful in some areas of life, but generally
like just listen for the explorer, like somebody who's trying to discover the world versus somebody who's really mastered it, kind of already know what they want and they know where they're going.
and measurable and achievable. And if you set your goals, then you'll manifest your future and you'll know what you want to get to. I'm not really a huge fan of goals. I think they're useful in some areas of life, but generally I'm much more about the systems and about the journey rather than about the destination. And so to me, goals, I keep changing my mind about goals. These days, I'm rating goals as a C on the list. I think they're kind of useful in some circumstances, and I certainly do have some goals, but I generally prefer to have input goals rather than output goals. So I prefer to
Yeah, he's just a wild flower floating on the breeze, enjoying what's down the road. Again, my guy here is a country song. He's a John Denver song. Just wanting them country roads take me home. He's just exploring the world. That's where my guy's at. So I mean I get it, but I mean this is bad advice for anyone else. If you have things you'd like to get done, and places you'd like to go and see, if you're 17 and don't know what you want to do with your life, this might be helpful. If you're if you're a grown ass adult and you have responsibilities, this ain't it. This ain't the one. It's going to be one of his others. This ain't the one. And that is research speaking. That is that is who gives a shit what Elon Musk is saying? Like when real ass adults need to get things done, like they want to know what actually works. They don't want to know what's hyped. They don't know what it's like if you're clothing shopping because you need business attire, you don't need the hype of yeah, but what's Kim Kardashian wearing? Who gives a shit? You need good business attire. I need a pantsuit. I need a skirt. I need a jacket, or I need a tie. I need a sport coat.
prefer to have goals that are entirely within my control. And finally, we get to the ultimate point of all this productivity stuff, which is enjoying the journey. And this is going to go right at the very top of our tier ranking. This is an absolutely life-changing thing because, to be honest,
Yeah, he's just an explorer here. That's for most. This is the point of his use of productivity goals. It's not the use of productivity goals, and I would say really if you're enjoying it, like productivity goals really shouldn't be here unless you're just learning because it's the content you want to cover. Like I said, make a video if you want to learn about something. Teaching is the best way to actually learn, a subject. um I almost feel like he's feeling out the audience, and he's in this moment he's teaching. I wish I knew how many subscribers he had at this point and what his normal content was, because I don't have a window of that. But at this point it's almost like he's teaching himself, because you don't see depth. Like it's really interesting that he didn't actually get into some of the things like the getting things done or things like that. Like these are very generic. They're very undefined. um it's not like it was a super hit, video. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious where he was in his journey here. I think some of this has changed, but I also think, you know, some people it's a personality. Some people are an explorer, some people are an exploit, just naturally. I find myself generally explorer. I've moved all over, so I feel this. Um, on those things, I carve out the explore portion though, and I don't bring in productivity tools in at all. As a completely separate mindset. Um, from I on the exploit side, I lock that down, and there are things that definitely work, things that don't work, things that work in certain situations, and where these tools come in. Like you don't vibes your way through productivity of a business. Like, you are going to pick a lane. You could, I mean, there are good and bad lanes depending on this, but you could still legitimately pick waterfall for large project management. If you're running a construction company, you're damn using project management. If you're doing software, even if you're vibe coding, you'd better still have project management, because if you've got deadlines and you're not just a startup, um, yeah, you've got to, and you're coordinating hundreds of programmers, you're a large company, you need project management. And if you're selling your software to integrate with credit unions or banks or hospitals or clinics or anything like that, you're going to need project management to keep up with them. Um, I myself have had to, point out when I have vendors who don't have good project management. I expect it because I've my budget is not conducive to just cowboying their way through things. So these things matter. Let's let him finish up real quick.
enjoying the journey is the ultimate productivity hack. Because when we're having fun doing the stuff that we need to do or that we want to do, then productivity just magically
All my job's not fun. Um, I have I take a lot of pride in my job. But yeah, we don't all get to do that. I'm doing what I'm good at. I enjoy being good at it. I enjoy accomplishing what I do, but there's not a lot of fun in my work. Um, I do government IT. Um, there's not there's not this wild, um, I'm just enjoying the journey of citizens do not pay their taxes for me to enjoy the journey. They pay their taxes because they want someone competent to, you know, make life not terrible when they have to deal with the government. I wish the goal was better than that, but at a minimum, they don't give two shits about me. I don't have the startup business. I'm not out here vibing on everything else. Like I think that's probably a different mindset where my explore is in different areas, but when it comes to career and things like that, like I'm definitely hardcore explore exploit where, a lot of these YouTubers, they're business people. They're running courses and they're doing all these things. They're kind of like they try to be like the cool small business running all these things and being an influencer. Um, and I get that, and I completely understand that. I think when they're making content, like we all don't want to be influencers. Like some of us are grown ass adults, and if those on my side of the fence, just like, yeah, no, we're just gonna go be ski instructors, like civilization collapses. Like, not even joking. If everyone who did my job, in the various places, just be like, yeah, we're gonna be ski instructors, your society just burns to the ground. Like we're sitting here trying to hold it up in every direction possible. Like we struggle. Like budgets aren't big. Um, it's harder to recruit people. We're not out here with .com money. We're not out here with Peter Thiel money. We're not out here with the Elon Musk money. We're not out here with Sam Altman money. That's not what we got out here. We're trying to keep the damn building from burning to the ground. And we're just trying to keep the lights on, my dude. That's true in a lot of places. So, you know, when when people like me see these videos and we actually know how real project management works and we actually work deep in project management, when we see productivity hacks and we see these things, like we know a lot of the bullshit too. We see bullshit in what we work with, and we got to put up with bullshit from people who can also just pick from a laundry list of productivity systems, and they often pick ones. It's like, really, really, we're doing that. We're doing this now. Okay, I guess we're doing this now. Um, it's understandable, but I don't know, 4 years ago, this doesn't hit at all. This is probably cool for vibe coders and ski instructor types at this portion of his career, but this is shit all for someone who's like, yeah, well, I'm trying to look for productivity apps to help me with my plumbing company. Like it's not about having fun and loving the journey. Like I'm just trying to figure out, what I can do because, maybe I'm doing some IT stuff. Maybe my 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 HVAC company has a YouTube channel. I'd like some productivity hacks too, and it's not about the fucking journey. It's about food on the table for the people that work for me and trying to expand my business. And in an environment where people are hurting for jobs, so we're hurting as well. People aren't wanting to pay as much, and they're putting off maintenance longer and things like that. Like these things matter to their families. So like not gonna like it's just I think that's why I'm getting a difference. I'm not trying to crap on this particular video at all, but where he's coming from, and I think where most of us are coming from when we're trying to cut through bullshit and just get some real answers on things, and we're tired of being talked down to by the elites, and we're just like, again, the con people. We're trying to get something done here. That's why I go after this, just like some of the other topics that I'll be going after. Like this is unfortunately, this is a cream puff filled, there's not a lot here. Like it is dessert, but it's not filling, and I think a lot of people come to some of these and they're, you got to put out content every day. And so maybe this was just kind of a filler one because I think a lot of the entries here, like we're renaming priorities and goals now. Like, come the hell on, that's bullshit. Um, and that seems like filler. So I don't know. I I think that was the a realization I would have preferred to have this way at the beginning and just be like, here's my current situation and why I'm going to be ranking things the way they are. So rather than here at the end.
Just magically takes care of itself. Now you don't need to motivate yourself to like sit down and watch Netflix or hang out with your friends because the thing is fun. And you don't need to like worry about
Again, people out here that are trying to keep, Cloudflare from collapsing, that are trying to keep food on the table for, you know, plumbers. There is school teachers out here trying to just get through the day. Like our lives aren't fucking Netflix, my man. And I believe he's come quite a long ways. I'm kind of, I'm very happy to see that he's not really here anymore. Um, you know, it's It's solid. It's great to see, but that's why that's why I don't really worry about the language or things when I go over things, because at the end of the day, like if you might be watching this out of interest, but I hope you actually get some real world. Like I hope you get meat from this, like in what actually matters. And they're interesting arguments, and it's a little bit of entertainment, but um I hope when I say that something is good or bad, it's because it matters in reality. It matters in the real world. It matters, you know, if if you're like, oh well, I guess none of the cool kids are doing to-do lists anymore, and I'm trying to, I'm a man, woman over the age of 50 at my workplace, and I see all these kids coming in, and they know all about AI, and they know all about vibe coding, and they know all about this and that, and they're very good. So let me find someone young, let me find someone who's hip and on the edge, and they come and they might see something like this, not necessarily from Ollie, but from any influencer, and they see this, and this is something to let you influencers know about. They show up and like, okay, I'm gonna get up with it, and they take away like it's about the journey. I mean, people are gonna think I go to work with that, and I don't have to worry about this, but let's say it was me and I had to go to work. People are gonna think I'm developing early onset dementia. I mean, well, I don't believe in goals. Like, can you imagine if I brought this up? If I was, and I don't have to worry about this at my level, but imagine I was going through a performance review and I threw that in there. Like most people are not in this place, like right here. Most people are not doing this. Like again, most people are trying to figure out how they can make their life work with two jobs. Most people are trying to figure out how they're going to just make it, um, and which is wild because this was, I want to say, let's see, 4 years ago. So that, yeah, that put this just after the pandemic. So maybe there's a vibe check. Oh, hey, look at that. Maybe there's a vibe check here, of I'm out of the pandemic and it's sort of like what my generation remembers as post 9/11. I'm not gonna be stuck in my job forever, and this soul crushing. And then, uh, yeah, we stayed in our jobs because not too many years later, the entire financial system collapsed in 2008. So yeah, we stayed in our jobs. Um, Man, if only people thought, oh, thank God the 2020 and 2021 are behind us. And then here comes along this video, and possibly the beginning of 2022. I'm not sure. It says 4 years ago. It might hit five. It might be sort of partial pandemic, but maybe people wanted aspirational type things, and coming down for the Zoom call generation with real productivity hacks, and telling people like, no, you might actually have to write a to-do list. Like maybe that's your problem, is you're just not writing things down and you're forgetting things. And that wasn't the vibe that people would like. Be like, ah, people say that make me want to quiet quit. Well, you know what? We ain't none of us quiet quitting now. The world changes, but you know, I just was very surprised at the end of this. I'm just it's kind of blown away from just the take on goals. I think I've done this justice now. This is now coming up on 4 hours. This is a 2.5 hour because I was going to get done. Previous video was an hour and a half. I'm uploading these straight. Um, I will find more content to hit on. Possibly next time, I'm thinking about, again, you're not going to get the same videos unless I have to break them up. You're not going to get them one after the other. Whew. I said 6 a.m. That was close. It's just after 5 a.m. I'm going to be switching these up. So if you think I'm going to be doing reviews of productivity videos, no, I'm not really doing that. We're going to hit a whole lot of things. I have quite a few topics that I'd like to hit on. I'm thinking about something in the nuclear energy space, possibly next. I don't know. I'm thinking about nuclear power, nuclear um, energy economy. I'm thinking about some of the things that might be coming down the pipe. I like to bounce around. We're going from AI slop to productivity with one of the leading productivity people out there. And I didn't I didn't really mean towards the end there to just sound like I'm coming out and just completely eviscerating him, but ah, I'm sorry, man. Hey, I can't, I can't undig a grave if you put yourself in there and just be like, man, we really up just making up. Like it really was downhill from just making up words for priorities, and then be like, I don't like goals. I just set a daily one. Oh, but I hope he's learned a lot more about these various things over the years, and I hope also that he's learned way more than just like the 4 hour work week or 4 hour body or 4 hour chef. But all three of Tim Ferriss's books that I read, I hope he's progressed far past those days. Like Tim's an interesting guy, but you're more gonna talk to him about like amino acids and that type of thing these days, and he kind of does his own thing. I would go with his protege. I would kind of go more in a Ryan Holiday if you want to go into like the vibes of things. Go a little more into that because he's found something outside of productivity tools to sort of talk about, and we might actually talk about that. That actually might be interesting follow up to this one. Is kind of move let's move away from the real tools and maybe I'll point over to like grab like I'll see if I can find like a Ryan Holiday super popular video on stoicism and all of that, and we'll have some comments on stoic bros versus I would certainly consider myself one, but I I've read, I think I've got two books to catch up on Ryan Holiday. I've caught all the rest. He's very I like when authors do their own readings, and that's one of the things he does. So I do very much enjoy his books. They are a tad formulaic, but I think he chooses such good examples when he writes his books that it really helps solidify some of the messages. And I feel like he's making some more foundational books that are just interesting. It's always it's the type of content that's just meant to provoke some thought, not really meant to try to push an agenda, but just like, here are just things to consider in your life. And I think that's I always found that positive. Um, if 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 my guy ever returns to the explore exploit on a hard line explore that like maybe it's aspirational, maybe there is a something like you people want to watch what they want to be, maybe. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking like, hey, they're going to take this course, they're going to be academy, they're going to live their best life ever. um but if you're looking for like productivity, this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it at all. I'm sure like the Philip DeFrancos of the world are gonna watch this and be like, yeah, I'm been spending too much time trying to do this, and I just need to be a little more frozen and let it go. Maybe, maybe. Um, but the audience over here was not feeling this 4 years ago. Um, anyways, um, I'm not saying I was going to make filler, but I was pretty close to the 2.5 hour mark. But um, we'll just count it as 2.5. I really hope you guys enjoyed this massive 4 hour freaking beast. I probably should have went one more, but I thought it's like, no, we talked so much during the first two in the intro that the rest one is just like yes, no, yes, no. We're gonna kind of burn through those, and it's gonna be just a little bit. And we ended up doing almost a big of a deep dive on this one on multiple topics. So I did do better this morning than my first video, suppressing a lot of my yawns. But talk this much, very, very hard at 5 a.m. to not yawn. So thank you for joining me for another late ass night. It is at least quiet, and in the big city, I actually haven't got any. I actually did not get any sirens tonight, so I'm pretty happy with that. Um, but this video will probably get uploaded for Monday and Sunday proper today. I'll probably get in a shorter, maybe 45-minute video that should go up Tuesday because I'm batching this weekend. Sorry, I couldn't help. Uh, but I am. I'm gonna do a little batching. It's my goal, and I've set it as a priority. Sorry, I'm gonna cut off before I get myself in trouble. I hope everyone enjoys their the night or day or whenever you're watching this. And I will see you all later. Take care.